Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome back. So we've changed up the title of these things now a bit. So this is going to be our regular post-arc discussion of the latest Resident Roleplay story arc. And yeah, we have gone with calling it Resident Retrospect now, so let's see if that sticks. Because I just thought the title could use some improvement. But we're here. It's the three of us. Myself.
Yo.
Yeah, Lauren's here. Doc's here.
Yo.
So, yeah, I guess we're gonna go ahead tonight and discuss the previous story arc, I guess the fourth story arc of Resident Roleplay.
That's right.
The Felicianos. So, yeah, I guess we've sort of established our format for this. We just sort of go through progressively and just share our thoughts. So always feel free.
Just talk about it.
Yeah, always feel free to just butt in if you guys have any thoughts, or if we're going through any particular thing if you want to share.
So, I was going to make an observation.
Yeah, what
before we
have
started.
you observed?
This story arc happened in only one place.
Yep. Well, that's the thing. That was actually a very deliberate goal going into this one. Was I knew I kind of wanted to, at least with this arc, to kind of bring it back to its roots a little bit and do one of those like good old fashioned Resident Evil stories where it's just like a single setting,
A single location.
yeah,
You
a single confined setting, and very, very focused storytelling where it's just like you have your enemy, you know who it is, go, and just, yeah, confining it all to one location. And that was fun. And I think I pulled that off because I mainly wanted to see if it was still possible at this point in your guys' progression. Obviously, the last arc before this, the Beast, that was a bit of a globetrotter, right? You guys were all over the place. But with this one, I was like, okay, I want to get back to our roots a little bit and do something smaller scale, but at the same time still like larger and more challenging than the previous arcs, but still like scaling it back down to, okay, you're not going to be all over the place. This is going to be moving hour by hour instead of year by year. And all that. So yeah, that was something very deliberate, and it ended up because of that, I think, being one of the shorter story arcs that we've had so far. Like I don't think most people
overall
realize it was only 10 episodes, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say over the course of a couple months. I'm looking it up right now. I have all the stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's from 40 to 49, so
There it is.
yeah. Yeah, about 10 episodes. So this is actually the shortest story arc since the first one. Oh, pardon me. So
What was the first arc?
that was the Arclight Cabin.
Yeah, but how long?
I think it was like six
6
episodes.
episodes?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that was
10
another
episodes.
interesting thing, was trying to figure out this time around. It's like, all right, how can I return to that form, return to that classic mood of a single confined setting over a short period of time, while still not necessarily dragging it out, but making it so that it feels like a story arc and feels long enough. And because that first one, I mean, that was good, but if we were playing that week to week, that wouldn't be a very long arc. So yeah, I've definitely learned a lot about GMing since then, since this has been my first campaign. And I was like, I didn't know what I was doing back then. I was just sort of flying by the seat of my pants. And now I've learned I've learned some tricks of how to keep a story arc going and how to fill it up with more content. And it ended up being just about roughly the length I was shooting for. So yeah, that's pretty exciting.
You're looking for about 10 episodes?
Yeah, around about that length. I knew I didn't want this one to take too long. Because at a certain point, if you are going to do that confined setting thing, if it runs on too long, it might feel like it starts to drag out just a little bit too much, because it's like, all right, we've been here,
You've been in Chicago for like...
Yeah, we've been on this
forever
estate for like so many episodes. When do we get out? So, yeah, long enough that it's longer than that first confined setting arc, but not too long where you guys are just like wondering when we're going to get to the next thing. So anyway, I guess going back to the start of it, the first episode we returned with, episode 40, MIA. So that was a bit of an interesting one. I liked the concept that we'd worked out and sort of collaborated with everybody on of the cold opens that we started with, where everybody was going to start with a different scene. And I remember working with you guys pretty extensively to figure out what those scenes were going to be and how what everyone's going to be doing. Because with, I guess, to talk about your characters in particular, with Emil, you'd pretty much spent the entire break working on your business.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Went into debt.
Accumulated massive debt, but you made your company. I'm trying to remember what spurred that, because there was something where you're like, oh, it's got to happen now. Didn't lose your previous job, I don't think.
Oh, no, yes, I did. The FBC went under.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, yeah, that would have happened over the course of the break. Yeah. The events. So, yeah, the events of Resident Evil Revelations just happened. And when we were starting up this arc, they'd happened like during those 6 months that we skip over. So, the events of Revelations happen. The FBC goes under. And basically, a lot of FBC staff gets transferred to the BSAA. And Emil's like, all right, now it's time to do my own thing.
Yep, and that's when I decided I have to get what do you call it? I have to get going.
Yeah,
because like everything was already put in place for me to start it. I just literally had to make all the purchases and acquire all the assets.
And I worked out the cost for that with you.
And a lot of them.
Yeah, it was a lot of them. You had to spend a lot of money to make that happen, but I mean, you got it done.
I did.
And you called it Greenhouse Solutions.
Greenhouse Solutions. Hold up. Someone pull up the the business card.
All right, you do have a business card. Hold on. I could actually bring that up on Roll20 here. Let's see. But yeah, that was a neat little sort of business card logo you made for it. Here it is. Let me bring that up on the stream. Ta-da!
No, there it is.
Yeah, so this was pretty neat. But yeah, I'm not sure if everybody necessarily got the reference, but you want to explain the title a bit?
Greenhouse Solutions. Operation Greenhouse was the reason Emil happened.
Yeah, that was like Emil's origin story.
Basically, his origin story revolved around... Actually, most of Emil revolves around that one event, that one pivotal event in his life.
Yeah, where he
was in some... I still don't even remember where it happened. But
I did establish it.
Some South American place. He did some top secret research for the army, and then they got completely and utterly decimated, leaving only the 4 survivors of Emil, Scott, Jack, and
Eddie.
Who was the Mexican?
Yeah.
Eddie.
Yeah, so which some of those characters played pretty pivotal roles in this arc, which we're going to get to later.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that started out. We had our cold opens. You had Emil was given the facility tour to Qatar, which that was cool. That was an idea you came up with all on your own. Well, I mean, I gave you quite a bit of free reign when it came to establishing your company. And you'd come up with the idea of the whole, what's it called? The island base, the sort of island facility on your own.
Yep. I was looking at locations for where I would want to put a top secret base. I was like looking at forested locations in Minnesota. I was like, where are some really dense forests that could just hide a base in this like little state? And I was like, wait a minute, hold on. Apparently this state's nickname is like the 40,000 Islands or something. So I was like, oh, I'll just take one of those.
That was the well, because that was the Great Lakes that we were looking into, and they had a bunch of islands throughout them, and you're like, oh, yeah, you could totally.
Because like Minnesota, Minnesota's was like 10,000 lakes was what it was.
Yeah,
not islands, but yeah, the Great Lakes have a bunch of islands in them.
And I was like, that'd be pretty reasonable that you could, with enough, big enough sum of money, purchase your own island out there. But I think, yeah, that opening also came with a few revelations on your end because Emil confronted Scott at that point.
Which one was that? Oh, when I was trying to hire him.
Yeah, yeah. Well, because that was how you found out about the Felicianos in general, or you were trying to get him to put you in touch with the Felicianos.
Yeah, because I was trying to. My initial plan was to get me, or rather, was to get him on board. I'm trying to remember what all the events that, like, the order of events, because there was a lot of stuff that was like intertwined and stuff. But I wanted to get him on board, and then I found out that he had some ties. And then I asked him to get me a meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I think I initially just approached him trying to hire him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember how exactly that went down.
Yeah, yeah. Because you'd suspected that there was some stuff he was hiding from you.
Yeah, because I had some pretty deep suspicions ever since the Umbrella facility, where a document was signed Scott M. And I was like, that can't be a coincidence, is it? Surely that's not a coincidence. That's got to be a coincidence. So then I wanted to press that little bit of information, but turns out he just admitted to it. So I was like, oh, yeah, there it is.
Yeah, and apparently he also got Scott involved, or rather, Jack involved with Umbrella, which was like a bit of a foundational piece of information about the very first arc of the show.
Yep.
So yeah, there was a lot of things that came up in there, but yeah, so there was that was Emil's cold open. Archaea was off doing her own thing, trying to track down the Felicianos, and Chauncey was off on a mission.
That's like one of my biggest questions right now is like, what was her drive for the Felicianos?
Well, because like basically, from how I understand it, she was going after the rest of Aiden's kill list. Now that Aiden's gone, she was like taking it up herself, and she knew that the Felicianos were associated with Walker, so she was just like looking, I think, for a way to get to him. Yeah, I don't remember if that necessarily came up, but yeah, she was in that CD bar and yeah, searching for leads. But yeah, and then we had the BSA opening with Chauncey leading your Foxtrot team.
That was super fun.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. We just got a little bit of an action sequence with you. Now, that was kind of deliberately placed because, well, one thing I should explain, we've gotten to that point now, because at this point in the progression of the campaign, I was figuring, okay, people are starting to get up there in levels, and they're starting to basically become of greater import in the world, greater importance, and I was like, okay, people are starting to do things and get in positions that are quite ambitious or quite big, and I'm like, there needs to be more, I guess, mechanical benefits to that sort of thing. So a couple of you, I think only the two of you started this arc with special, like, character-specific features that I'd given you as part of just the progress that your character has made. So with Chauncey, first with Emil, I gave you that Big Pharma ability, which is like basically
channeling Big Pharma.
Yeah, you could channel Big Pharma to just do a couple of different effects that were basically based on your whole new position as a big pharmaceutical CEO. So yeah, and you use that a couple of times.
Popping out drugs.
Oh yeah. And
peddling out drugs. I like how the first time I used it was just to get rid of a Chauncey hangover, I think.
No, hangover, it was because Chauncey was driving all night. Yeah, he was fatigued.
And I was like, hey, let me give you some of these experimental energy stimulants.
Which, come to think of it, I'd forgotten about that. Because how long had Chauncey been up for this arc?
He was up for some time. But I mean, like you said though, that he was out whenever he was later on knocked out.
That's true. You got a nap while you were knocked out.
Yeah, I got a little nap.
That's true. Yeah, that's like the only sleep you got during this arc.
He didn't need it though, because by the time he got knocked out, Emil had already given him the energy booster.
That's also true. Yeah. Well, it didn't count as a long rest because it wasn't long enough. But
Okay, that's true.
yeah, he did have the energy booster to go all through the night, which you guys, pretty much did. So, yeah, Chauncey pretty much
needed it.
Didn't
He and Katara needed it, but Jason was going in there. Mr. G was going in there. I'm sure freshly rested.
True. Yeah. So I guess Chauncey was just like he didn't sleep at this entire arc. No sleep till Brooklyn.
Chicago?
Yeah, Chicago in this case. But what else?
Chauncey isn't one for sleep though.
Yeah. The tireless feature used to have a feature that kept you from getting as much sleep fatigue. That's kind of the purpose, the way that functions has since changed, but you still like pretty much play the character like he has that, like he's just like, oh, I don't need sleep, I need answers.
But like at first it seemed like a useless feature, like because it was just like you don't need to, or you take what it was 24 hours at the beginning. It was like it was kind of a useless feature, that because we would take short rests and long rests before my dude would ever need to sleep, and that's why I was like, I would use that all the time, be like, oh, don't worry, Chauncey's got this, he don't need to sleep. But now it's like it was a cool, it added more feature whenever you updated the rule book to it, and it was just like it was nice because now I don't have to stay up, but I could still be that no sleeping character, or at least I don't take the effects of the first fatigue.
Yeah, at least just soldiering through the days. So
yep, that's the way he goes. Just keeps trucking.
You soldiers.
So that was, but the reason why I brought up the character-specific features that I designed custom for you guys, because Chauncey got one as well. He got one for being Special Operations Unit Captain for the BSAA. And so, yeah, with that, you gain some, like, command capabilities, and kind of part of my intention with this opening sequence was, I was like, okay, this will be a neat opportunity to just introduce that as a factor, put you in a situation where it's just Chauncey and his team, and then, like, perhaps introduce that as a mechanic that is available, so, like, that the other players and viewers could kind of get used to that. But I guess he didn't end up using it in that opening.
I just assumed that I had more opportunities to use it later on, so I didn't think about it.
See, that was part of the thing too, because for me, I was like, okay, yeah, I'll use this opener as an opportunity to introduce that mechanic where you've got like a rife opportunity where it's just you and your team, and I was thinking like that's good because that might set it up so that later on, this arc, which might possibly feature you using that a lot, that would have been established at the beginning of the arc. But yeah, you didn't end up using it at any point later on either. But yeah, we'll get to that later, because there was like I said, there was a lot of different ways I was prepared this could go down. But yeah, I was kind of imagining the Foxtrot team playing a much bigger role in this arc. But yeah,
then he got.
Yeah, then he got.
Yeah, I feel like I missed a bunch of information then, because I was like, there's no way these guys could play a bigger role. So I guess we'll have to see.
Well, so yeah, we'll get to that. But because next up, you guys all pretty much pursued a bunch of leads, and Chauncey heard that Cambria was in trouble, and that kind of brought you guys all together again, and then all towards the same destination of the Feliciano Manor. And that actually kind of led to what for me was one of the most surprisingly suspenseful moments in the series. And there was a lot I kind of had to improvise, especially in that first session, because like I had the loose kind of idea of what all you guys were going to be doing, but how it all came together, that was pretty much coming together on the fly. And I loved the ending of that first episode because that was when you guys had the meeting with the Dawn. And yeah, that was really exciting. And like that was one of those moments where just the dialogue and the music and everything came together to make a really suspenseful moment. Like I remember getting excited when that was going down. I was like, oh man, this is like the perfect background music for it. And yeah, that was really suspenseful and a really, really cool moment. Probably one of my favorite moments in the series now. It was also like a little interesting.
Which moment was that?
At the end, of the first episode, when you guys were meeting with the Dawn for the first time, and he reveals that,
and then he turns,
that they're still kind of in league with the Manifold.
And then we find out that I was the guy.
Yeah, okay. So that was a huge thing.
The guy.
Yeah, what was it? Marconi was just like, yeah, that's the guy Bellucci was telling us about. And Chauncey's just like, what? I'm the guy.
Why am I the guy?
I was so beaten up for forever on that. Like, drug for like 4 out of the 10 episodes, if not more. I was like, no, I just want to know. Tell me.
Yeah, like we never heard the end of that after that. You were just like, Doc would just like message me in the middle of the night, just like, why am I the guy?
The thing is like, I continually beat a dead horse. Like that's the thing is like, I find something funny and I continue to do it, or I find something of value to me at I guess everybody else's expense. So like the whole, I'm the guy. So I went with that. Whenever I first said about the Clancy blood to you and Lauren, you guys both like you enjoyed it. So I was like, I'm gonna keep beating this dead horse. It's so funny to me. Yeah. So that's my style. That's why like it has to be that way.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Chauncey was just getting punched in the face and he was like, I'm the guy.
Which
I can't die. I am the guy.
Also, that was the thing, a callback that happened in that episode, which I should probably explain in case people haven't seen First Degree. There was that baguette moment where when you guys realized that the Dawn was bad news, and Mel was just like, baguette. Oh, that's a hilarious part of that of First Degree that has kind of endured.
Yeah.
Because that was just explain it really quick for those who perhaps didn't see
quick recap.
First Degree. Yeah,
recap. First Degree recap.
First Degree was a series of it was a mini series that you ran during the last story arc break, the previous one, where it was in the Resident Evil universe, and it was in this homebrew system that we're using for Resident Roleplay, and we've established also afterwards that it is canon to Resident Roleplay. Those events did happen.
Yes.
But yeah, we were playing. It was your sort of villains mini series, and we were playing. Lauren was GMing. We were playing a party of villains, and we were working as a team on a couple of parts, and we were like, we need to establish a code word if things go south. How do we know? How do we know it's time to act and to just start killing stuff?
Yeah, because you guys were going in stealthfully.
Yeah, we were pretty.
And Doc's character was like ready to go off, and you're just like, wait. I'm gonna wait up here. You just let me know when it's time to kill.
Yeah.
And then
I was pretty proud of that though. We played that miniseries pretty tactically. We were doing all sorts of planning and setup, and we just ambushed the heck out of a bunch of cops. And
oh yeah, you guys fully murdered a lot of police officers.
It was pretty villainous.
Yeah.
I was a pretty bad guy.
I mean, I honestly, I thought my character was a pretty bad guy too, with Clayton Mills, the lawyer. Because, there was some stuff, after that prison episode, I felt like I needed a shower. I was like, because he was being pretty evil.
Yeah.
He was just straight up, manipulated some inmates' feelings to try and assassinate someone for me. It was ridiculous.
and he went for it. He went for it. He put that dude in the hospital.
But anyway,
he was sent to the hospital.
Yeah, long story short, we needed a code word for when we knew to go loud, basically, and because Chauncey was playing this French character, my guy was just like, "How about baguette?" And that just sort of stuck. And now we always think, whenever we hear baguette, we just get like triggered now.
I see a baguette, I get triggered. That's my problem.
Just walking through the store, you're just like, "Oh, baguette!"
I will flip a Walmart table for bread. It doesn't matter to me. Baguette! Ah.
So there was that total baguette moment where you guys realized the Don was not on your side, which I gotta say, I loved that introduction for the Don. Because that's one of those sort of things where it's like that just sort of happened naturally. There was a lot of things that kind of happened naturally over the course of this arc, and well, for one, I realized I was a bit ill-prepared because it was one of those things where I was like, I felt like I was missing something, and then you don't realize what you're missing until the session starts. When you guys finally got to the manor, I realized, oh shoot, I don't have my pre-written description for the Dawn like anywhere in these documents that I have up. So, so yeah, that was one of his whole introduction, because like I have a set of notes that I have for pretty much all NPCs to just get a superficial idea of them, like their appearance, their voice, all that. I didn't have any of that when I had to first play the Dawn. So I had an idea in my head of what it was like, of what he was going to be like, and so I was like, I just had to wing it from there. But it ended up being pretty effective. I think you guys got the gist of that character pretty fast.
Immediately, Kingpin from Into the Spider-Verse.
No, okay,
Popped into my head. And that's all I was able to see from that point forward. That is all I was able to see, is just this big square of a person with a head in the middle.
Yeah.
I kind of had the same idea.
Oh yeah. Well, see, that was the thing actually. It's funny that you guys' heads went there, because I told Lauren a bit about this, but yeah. So with this story arc, there was kind of 3 clear-cut villains, which was basically the leadership of the Feliciano, the Feliciano crime family, and
there's the bad, the law bad, and then like the big bad.
Sure. Yeah. There's the consigliere, the underboss, and then the Dawn. And you kind of got that structure of progressively fighting through each one, and each one kind of ended up being like a boss battle to cap end each section of the arc. So, excuse me. So like we obviously, with all the Feliciano thugs, I just sort of played them as just like stereotypical, like Italian mobster types in terms of voice, but with the leaders, since I knew these guys were like, again, like I wanted to make it pretty clear that these guys are like the villains, that the bosses that you're going to be fighting, and so I wanted them to be a little bit more characterized. And so instead of looking for different kinds of like accents to try and emulate with each one, I instead went for I guess what you would call idealects, where I went for impersonating specific people or specific characters for each one. And so yeah, each of the bosses, each of the leaders of the Felicianos were each based each me doing like an impersonation of a specific character that I had in mind. And that was actually it for the Dawn. That was my reference, I was looking to Leif Schreiber's performance as Kingpin in Into the Spider-Verse was how I was trying to play his voice. So yeah, I'm glad that you guys got that impression. Now, I'm curious if you guys know, could guess what the other 2 were.
I don't know. Because the Dawn was pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Dawn was super obvious.
Could you do a sample? Do you have one of their
Hold on, let me just bring up my notes and make sure I know, but I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, so well, for the sample of their voices?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing I have my notes up. Let me try. Let me see. Marconi. And Marconi was kind of like this. He talked, he had a bit of a nasally voice. He had this kind of cadence about him.
That sounds like something from
I'm getting like Joe Pesci vibes.
Kind of. Like I was gonna say something like from Goodfellas or something.
Yeah. A little bit of like a Goodfellas, like Joe Pesci kind of thing. But specifically, what I would do
What's up, shoot him?
Yeah. Well, specifically what I was like, what I would reference for like a warm up line with him was what was it? Okay, this is gonna be a little sad, but like there's that Marvel Heroes MMO from a while back.
I remember that.
Yeah, you remember that game? Yeah, that doesn't exist anymore. But there was the Magia Goons in that. We're all like, watch out, costumes! And I would just say that to warm up for him. Because, that line got stuck in our heads. But yeah, and then Bellucci talked a little bit like this, and he got...
That's Godfather. Straight up Godfather.
So, yeah, that's interesting, because that was not what it was. Because I ended up defaulting, I think, to Godfather while like I was playing him in session. Cause I think it was because like to maintain character, I ended up doing the hand motions, like the Don Corleone hand motions, that he does, where he's got like a pinch of spice or something that he's just waving around. It looks like. Yeah. I ended up doing that, and that was completely unintentional. But originally, what he was supposed to be was the what was his name? John Pilgrim character from the Netflix, Marvel Netflix Punisher series was what I was going for.
Because he had that same kind of gravelly, just like... Well,
yeah, it was like raspy, like the super dried out raspy voice.
It's raspy with gravitas.
Yeah.
And it's just like whatever he's saying is very important, and you have to listen.
Yeah, and very sort of deliberate. So yeah, I might have ended up defaulting to Vito Corleone a little bit, but yeah, he was originally supposed to be that John Pilgrim character. So
I think the only difference between those two characters is context, like vocally at least. I guess because I think it is kind of the same voice, just by two different actors.
Yeah, that might be the case. It is very similar voice. But yeah, so those were the inspirations for the voices of those characters, and I thought it worked out well, because apparently you guys seemed pretty well able to identify each one by their voice, and hopefully it made each kind of big boss kind of feel distinctive from all of the other waves of thugs that you guys mowed through.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh, it was.
Yeah. So after that meeting with the Don, you guys pretty much had to shoot your way out of that room, out of that situation.
Yeah, I should have tranked the lawyer.
And so that was kind of your first big combat with the Ganados. But the thing was, I don't think you guys realized they were Ganados at the time.
No, complete and utter surprise when one of them turned.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't see that coming. But yeah, because you didn't tell me that you noticed I was rolling stuff. I was rolling behind the screen, as it were, rolling physical dice.
Yeah.
Every time you killed one back in the in the main lobby area, in that big battle. But I guess you didn't know what that was for. But that was each and every one of them had a chance of mutating.
I knew you were rolling for something, but I just assumed. I think what I assumed at the time was new like death rules for NPCs. Like they have they have a chance to, when they hit 0, become incapacitated instead of killed. Or something like that. And it's like, that guy's straight up dead. Yeah, that guy's straight up dead. Yeah, that guy's straight up dead. It's just like, okay, so there's a small chance one of them would survive and we can like interrogate him or whatever, something like that. But then one of them freaking exploded. I was like, oh no, that's what it was.
Which, yeah, that was an interesting little bit. But I'm surprised you guys didn't think of that. So that actually ended up being a little bit of a surprise on behalf of the players, which is pretty cool. I like surprising you guys with stuff like that. That this was going to be a Plaga arc. So
did we know it was Plaga going in?
No, I don't think you guys were familiar with the Plaga.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with the Plaga.
Yeah, like general, so. Yeah, Doc had no clue that was a possibility, that you guys could be fighting people who are just perfectly human seeming and then just turn into monsters.
I was gonna say, speaking of not knowing of the Plaga, I just loved whenever you start to describe a transformation, and I'm just like, oh, oh, Doc doesn't know what this is.
And then you have me asking shortly, like, wait, can you say that a little bit more? Or, like, I'm in the middle of battling something, so you're telling me there's squishy parts here and not there. Right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay, like, I don't know where to attack. I'm beaten. I can't compete. I don't know what I'm doing here. I am out of my element.
But yeah, that was kind of an interesting thing, because, you know, with Doc, you established that you'd pretty much never played the Resident Evil series from 4 onward, I think. And
from 3 onward, I didn't play any of 4, like, because like back in the day,
3 though.
I did play 3.
Yeah.
Yes, 3's my favorite, absolute.
Mhm.
But like 4, I didn't play because of to be honest, I was ruined by GameCube. They released that on GameCube, and they made the blood gray. And I was just like, I seen that, and I was just like, nope, ruined it. Done. Not playing it ever again. Thank you.
Yeah, I actually played it back on the original GameCube. That's Resident Evil 4 has to be the game that I've played on the most different platforms. I'm not sure why. Well, it might be because it's like my favorite
GameCube,
my favorite game. Yeah, I played it on GameCube. And at one point we had like our friend's PS2, and
Yep.
like I've never even owned a PlayStation console, but I played Resident Evil 4 on PS2, and then they did an HD remaster on Xbox 360. I had that. Had the HD re-release on PC. Now I got that. It's like, yeah, I've played that on a ton of different platforms. But yeah, I forgot it. I almost forgot it was GameCube exclusive at first when it was first released.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so you'd established that you hadn't played that point onward, and for me, early on in the campaign, I was like, that's interesting, and that kind of made me a bit open to kind of doing different stuff with some of the things that come from those later games, you know, because I was like, okay, I could introduce these with kind of my own spin on them, and, you know, I would know that Doc's going in with no presuppositions, so I could just sort of do all sorts of new and interesting stuff, and it'll be a surprise for those who have played, and then a super surprise for Doc, who is just like getting introduced to these creatures and to this scenario at the same time. Because that was the sort of thing that I was shooting for, was, I guess, the playing up that concept of mixing sort of the crime genre into the Resident Evil universe a bit, with and establishing just like these mafia types that are also, each and every one of them, bioweapons, because they're, you know, they got that plug guy, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Most people probably didn't. You know, that's how they've operated this whole time, or not this whole time, but for a little bit
after the 2000s.
Yeah. Well, because the plaga didn't even pop up till 2004, and this arc took place in 2005, mid 2005. So it's still a pretty new thing. But,
so are these guys, are these like some of the early adopters with just a bunch of Italians and Spaniards?
Yeah.
Massive cultures. It wasn't specific to those two. There was like a whole bunch of other cultures that just had massive amounts of them.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, you guys were running around the mansion, solving all sorts of puzzles, doing all sorts of stuff. While I guess you guys got besieged. Somebody jacked the Black Betty's battery during this part too.
Whoa, Black Betty.
I wasn't even thinking they jacked the battery. When you said the hood was up, first thing went to my mind was Mafia. They're planting a bomb. That's what they're doing. They're gonna blow up my stuff. So I think I said that to Mel when he ran out to the vehicle. It was like, you know, just don't start it because it might blow up. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what's up. It's Mafia mentality. That's all I thought about, was just like he was gonna hop in and like turn the key or something. It's gonna go kaboom! Like, I worked my entire life on this car, and then I thought that too. That hurt me so bad when you were like, and the hood's up. I was like, no, it's gone. Like, I worked so hard for this.
You just
like, I already lost my Hummer. Yeah, I just lost my Hummer. years before, and now I've been working on this vehicle, and it's gonna go away, of course, because I have to bring my vehicle to the battle.
Oh, ended up
That was
making
so
it out
sad.
all right, though.
Yeah, it did. I like the way I like the way it went out as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you guys encountered the dogs. You fought a bunch of things. And then I guess you made your way to the rooftop. I guess Emil killed Luigi somewhere along the way.
Luigi! Luigi!
That was a great moment where Arcea's just running out and Emil's just like, nope. And just like, yeah, that was
just shoot shoot the guy who was just saying something.
Yeah. And I love how you I think you nat 20 too. And it was just such a perfect moment where it was just like, yeah, the dice know what's good for the story right now. You just blow that guy's brains out, jump off the roof, and just pull her back in. Yeah. Which that was sort of a thing you'd established with Emil. Is Emil is basically super protective of Arcea.
Well, yeah. So I was gonna say there was a lot of stuff because I guess we're getting to this point now where the big turn happens. But there was a lot of stuff that I didn't get to establish with Emil that I wish I could have.
Yeah.
And one of those things was that originally in the arcs, I think he said be your own person. You got to do all this stuff. That completely changed over the last 6 months, or however long it was. His entire view shifted for how he would handle those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because
unfortunately, I didn't get to delve too much into that before it all just immediately became maximum level. It's just everything's just going at maximum right now. Everything's going a mile a minute. We're just going right now. No time to explain. Just go.
Yeah. So that was pretty much his thing was keep her out of their hands, and because that was the thing too when she was going out there, I was like, well, I guess I have my own ideas. I don't know how too far I'm gonna delve into it, but it's just she wouldn't have necessarily been in harm's way because they know they need her and they want her alive. But that's not Emil's issue.
Emil's issue wasn't that she was going to die. Emil's issue was that someone else was going to have her.
Yeah. So,
because I think I did say at one point where it's I think when he was talking with Arcea up in the second floor when we were searching around, he was I need to protect you. You need to stay alive, and I need you alive in the same way that they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and see,
so he knew that they weren't going to kill her, and that was worse than if she was dead.
Yeah, as we find. Anyway, you guys pretty much solve everything around the mansion. You go around collecting fragments, classic Resident
Did we clean out that mansion
stuff.
Completely?
You guys did, yeah. You guys found everything.
Man,
if not, I'm gonna find it here shortly.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. You're gonna be looking through all the floorboards. Just
tear the first thing you do is just all right, see if we missed anything.
Yeah.
Check for bodies under the floorboards. Check for
flip over some beds or in some of those sofas that were in the lounge room.
When you think about it, we're probably gonna do a clean sweep.
Probably, yeah.
You would have to, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, you guys
don't
want any mob bugs lying around or anything like that.
Yeah, want the critters in the walls.
Yeah, literal bugs too.
That's true. There's just somebody's staying in the barracks and suddenly contracts plaga. That's a bad thing.
No, yeah.
I mean, who's gonna be controlling them now, though? That's the question.
Did we ever know in 4 what happens after the queen is killed?
No, yeah. Well, because the thing is, the queen doesn't even necessarily control the people. That just I think produces more plagas.
Or not whoever has. Oh, that's true. No, there wasn't. Sadler, we haven't killed the control.
Yeah, in 4, Sadler had control over everybody because he had the staff of power. But
that's what I was wondering was who. Do we know what happens after that's dead?
No, yeah, I don't think they establish. I don't
They
know.
probably
Can
just
they
send
be
up a
their own
cleanup
thing?
crew and then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the island blows up too, so I think the last of them are dead.
Is that okay?
Well, there's
All
the
right,
whole
yeah, they're all
village
dead.
though too. So are the village people just free?
Oh yeah, no, that's mostly what I'm talking about. Is like,
Yeah.
do
I
they
don't
return
know.
to their normal life just in a like at a random point? Some of them's head will explode, and then they'll have a thing coming around, and it's just like, yep, that's him now.
Yeah, it's just the way it is.
He's got a big gaping maw, and it's just like, yeah, he's got to eat like twice as much.
Yeah. So, I think that was a thing that I'd established. I think you guys got a lot from got a lot out of Dr. Campbell, and I think that was a thing that I established, was that the Dawn wasn't necessarily the controller in this situation.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so in the manor though, you guys fought your way through. You cleared the place out. You found your way to first to the attic. Which, speaking of the things that I could surprise Doc with, that I absolutely love being able to do, was those darn armors, those animated armors, basically.
Yep.
Like you guys are saying, it's like you guys saw that coming when you guys took off
A mile
the sheets.
away.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, armors. But I got to play some of those same suspense tactics that they use in the games on you guys, and still know that it's fresh for somebody, which was super cool. That's actually really really satisfying for me.
When we first encountered them, I was thinking, like, when we encountered the armors, I was thinking they were just like statues that didn't make it into the gallery.
Yeah.
So they were stuffed in the closet. But when they started to attack us, I wasn't understanding it at first that it was Plaga. I was understanding it as it was a mechanism that was now attacking us. So it's like, how are we going to destroy this mechanism? I'll just take its weapons.
Yeah, and that was something I didn't see coming, but I was like, I mean, it is just a weapon, and you've disarmed it, and you just started whacking stuff with a great axe. No, yeah, that was ridiculous. And you freaking carried that thing up to the rooftop too.
I had a whole scene in my mind just on replay, and it was so good. Like, and then like when you allowed me to take the sword, it was just like almost like Thor picking up a hammer. Like it was meant to be. Like, that's what my character does. Like, in D&D, that's what my character would be doing. You know, so it was like, it was that moment. Like, I got to get back into my medieval roots. This is where Clancy blood comes from. And
Ye old
so
Clancy
good.
blood.
Yep. This is, and it was like going on into slaying the dragon, as it felt to me, was going up into the up on the roof with the sword. It is just like also full of rage. Like, he's just like blood eyed at this point, is what, like, blood rage. For some reason, I was just like, yes. Whoop. And then everybody, I was getting everybody hyped that I was gonna throw it at the lawyer. But I didn't on purpose. Like, everybody was like ready to do whatever they could to this guy. I was attacking the radio thing.
Yeah, was that your plan from the beginning?
From the beginning, that's what it was. Because I wanted that moment, like, because like it was fresh, like Infinity War was in my mind, like aim for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm not gonna do it to the dude. I'm gonna do it because I also wanted it to where it hits, and it happened also, was it hits the radio tower, disables it, and then I also charged the dude and slam him onto it, which was really, really, really sick in my opinion.
I mean, yeah, and that was the thing, is like the rolls were there too, that you're able to pull it off. It worked out. That was just one of those moments. You don't always get those moments. That's the thing with RPGs. You don't always get what you want. Is I guess the motto of playing RPGs, but that was one of those moments where you did, and where the rolls worked out and everything worked out, that you're able to pull that stunt off.
Yeah, like I'm still coming to grips with the way D&D plays, because I know it's not you saying I can't do this thing all the time. It's the dice saying you can't do this right now. You could try again later, but you can't do this now.
Yeah.
It's like a slap in the face. And it comes back to you though, because then you're the one who tells me I can't do it. I'm like, ruined my moment.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's the thing.
why couldn't he just make the DC a 1? I would have nailed it.
Yeah. That's the thing that I think a lot of people, don't entirely realize. You hear about this a lot, is actually that a lot of people just don't get that the GM actually, well, most of the time, the GM's on your side. The GM wants you to succeed. But
that's dramatic.
Because that's dramatic, and it's awesome. GMs generally love it when their players succeed at something, when they plan something and then pull it off. That's exciting. And that's, like we'd get just as much out of that as the other players, I think. So, but sometimes the rolls just aren't there, and it's just like you got to let the dice fall where they may.
I was going to say, like, it is very easy as a GM. You will come to find if you ever run a game, it is very easy to make your players fail. You literally just say you fail.
Yeah.
It is very hard to make your players succeed, but the harder it is, the better the result is. There's that, the more work you put into succeeding, the bigger the reward, the bigger the payoff is. And it is extremely easy to make players fail.
Yeah.
And there's things in place to make sure, like, hopefully that doesn't happen. If your GM is making you fail, get a different GM.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's very obvious whenever that's happening.
Yeah. And that's the thing though. But if you've got a good GM, they wanna see you succeed. But they will still respect the roles.
Exactly. They put challenges in your way because you may not succeed now, but later on down the line.
And plus, sometimes failure just makes for good storytelling.
It's true.
Natural ones can be fun. And also just even outside of just flukes like natural ones, it's I feel like having moments of failure for characters is a very, good thing sometimes for the narrative. Yeah. It's just they need to have some wins and they need to have some losses, because otherwise the wins don't really mean anything.
There was this excellent post somebody put in some random D&D GMing subreddit that I follow. I follow like a few of them, and they were proposing a bunch of they had a bunch of proposed fail states that weren't death. Like what would happen if total party wipe happens, that don't result in player death, right? So
death.
That's right, because if your player dies, go to the hospital. He's got a heart attack.
Yeah.
But no, yeah. So that kind of stuff where it's total and complete failure should be an option, but the only option shouldn't be death.
Yeah.
Because there's I think that's why a lot of players, maybe a lot of GMs, depending on how much experience you have, are fearful of failure, because failure typically equals death in RPGs, where it doesn't have to necessarily be the case. You can all hit 0 and you can just get captured.
Yeah, there are plenty of alternatives to that, which is cool, because I liked the way you explored that in this particular arc, because we're getting to that now that we're talking about that fight, the first boss battle with the Consigliere with Antonio Marconi. That was a fun one. Well, first of all, you guys wiped the floor up with him. I think the boss battle ended up being rather trivial on that part, which that wasn't even
whooped him. Yeah, it was mostly Doc, actually.
No, yeah, that wasn't even a challenge thing. That was just one of those instances. You guys were just rolling well that night, because first Chauncey just pulled off that axe maneuver and destroyed the signal jammer and took him out at or threw him down on it at the same time. And then you guys just kept that ball rolling the rest of the night, because that guy, he had that enemy had I think the same CR as the Gigante, although I guess with the Gigante you're fighting with less people though, so that's why we were down more challenging. But still, yeah, you guys wiped the floor with Marconi.
I do have a question actually about the design of these bosses who have a transformation stage.
Yes.
do their human forms have health points that we have to deplete before they transform, or is that a narratively thing? Because like I was wondering, we have for nearly everybody, I think, except for the Dawn. No, including the Dawn. For every single person that we fought and they had a transformation sequence, we utterly wrecked their human form right before they transformed.
Yeah.
Like,
well, so for for most of them. Also, hello, Nina.
welcome back.
Welcome back. So, on that note, yeah, that was actually a thing. Was I did track damage that you guys did to their human form to them after they transformed. They also took
okay, so it wasn't like a I was almost thinking of something like a druid's transformation type thing where
where they get like a hit point buffer where it's just like they just throw that like, on top of their hit points.
Yeah, it's like you have this amount of hit points, like, you know, say 30 for their human. Once that goes down, they transform and any damage scales over or whatever.
Well, yeah, no. So, and I'll tell you why I did it that way. Was because, well, I was still using those stat blocks to represent those characters. Like in the case of Marconi, obviously I used the model of the second boss in Resident Evil 4, the chief.
The village boss.
Yeah, the village chief.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you encounter that character a lot before he transforms, right? And he's just a big dude who's just like really strong. So it kind of gives that implication that like even without his transformation, he's got all that going on inside of him where he's just like super beefed up. So I was thinking the same thing with this guy, like Marconi in human form has the same stats as after he transformed. So I included hit points as part of that. So yeah.
Okay. So I still wouldn't have been able to trank him either.
No, you wouldn't have been able to trank him. Yeah, he was beefy.
I do enjoy you trying to trank everybody. I am gonna miss that.
Yeah. That was
it's gonna be sorely. Well, because see, I never made any super tranks. I hadn't yet gotten to the point because there's an option to be able to add more to the tranquilizer when you craft it. It just costs more materials, right? More resources. I hadn't yet gotten to the point where I felt comfortable making a super trank where it's like, all right, this is going to be like 50 D10, and if we don't want to fight somebody, we'll use this.
Well, though that's the thing though with and I pointed this out I think to you guys afterwards. I don't know if I ever said it on stream, but with the Dawn, you tried to trank him, and I made you roll for it.
That's true.
Just to show off how beefy he was. But I one thing I'd forgotten about, and I think you might have forgotten about as well, but that is that there is a qualifier on that craft where it can only affect people who aren't immune to charm, and which a lot of these bosses that you guys fight are immune to charm.
Most legendary creatures, I think, are.
Yeah,
because that would make a legendary fight very trivial.
Exactly.
If you could charm them. Just have a bard with you.
Basically, yeah. Normal D&D, if you've got like, you're up against some legendary creature and you're just like, oh yeah, how about I
compel you to go to sleep.
Yeah, can I just dominate monster it? It's like, yeah, that would be trouble. So yeah, it would have been impossible to trank the Dawn, even though I made you roll for it. And I'm pretty sure it would have been impossible to trank Marconi as well.
Yeah. See, I knew the Dawn was going to be the final fight. I didn't think we were actually going to have to fight. Like, I didn't know that, well, obviously, since we didn't know we didn't know they were all, what do you call it?
Yeah.
Plug it up, right?
Yeah.
We didn't know they were all plug it up yet.
Yeah.
So I assumed that everybody was standard except the Dawn, who was big. Like, I thought he was just a really big guy. So I was like, okay, I might be able to trank him because he's still a human. And then afterwards, I was thinking, like, oh, I probably should have tranked the lawyer, because I thought the lawyer was just going to be some scrawny dude. Just like some random regular dude who's just really smart.
No, yeah. Yeah, so basically those three big leaders of the Felicianos were the dominant Plaga enemies that got big transformations. But anyway, so let's talk about the end of the Consigliere episode, though, because that's
where everything just goes to shit.
That's what you would call the like in films, like you have the downbeat, you know, where where you have the fall of the characters, and you have that beat where everything's all hope is lost. That was that kind of ended up inadvertently being
like
that
the turn.
Yeah, there's that big turn at this episode where you guys had this massive victory over the Consigliere, but he managed to chuck Archaea over the edge of the rooftop. And she fell down to the crowd of Ganados down at the bottom. And I guess it was at that point that you guys started to have, people started flying off rooftops. So
just with my freaking like vintage rifle, just like stop.
yeah. So that actually ended up being a very interesting sequence the way it played out. Like, for some reason, that sequence I could picture really clearly in my head. Where,
oh yes,
yeah, like Emil's jumping off, and he's basically just like going. I don't know. I'm picturing the ground level being like that scene from the Raid 2 where they're fighting in the prison. And it's just like a mud fight, and he's just going through, and he just gets a couple of sticks, but that with your bayonet, and just like cutting through all of these goons on your way to Archaea.
I was kind of thinking Old Boy.
Oh yeah, a little bit hallway fight.
Except for with a bayonet instead of a hammer.
That's true. Well, even then, it was the little Saving Private Ryan, because then Katara starts raining down explosives, and you're just running through, stuff's exploding around you. Chauncey starts lighting stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah.
And, like, I didn't even start lighting anything up until I turned the corner and saw the dawn. And I was just like, that was my moment. And then I jump off the roof. But I hopped down a story first. I was like, oh, yeah, here.
Oh, wait, no, I didn't take the rifle with me. I left the rifle up there because I intended somebody to use it.
Oh yeah, no, you took the bayonet off though.
I took the bayonet off, left the rifle, and jumped off.
That's why I particularly pictured it like a raid scene, was because you're just going through just with your knife in hand and just like fighting people.
Yeah,
you know? Just straight up fighting
I think
people.
I had your gun, and I shot it a couple times, and I threw it down.
You might have. You might have.
I think that's what initially happened.
You guys never
what
got
happened
that
to that
gun
rifle?
back. Yeah,
I was gonna say, is that under the?
I think that got left in the mud, and because Pete recovered all of Chauncey's weapons, but I don't think he took that rifle.
Well, because there was a lot of weapons. I think that no, I think it was just mine, because all of Chauncey's weapons got picked up by Pete. So I think my rifle was just out there by the front entrance. By the time everybody comes in, so I guess the BSAA come in and just probably it's. Mm-hmm. Under their,
well, here's the thing though, was that
their stuff.
There were some patrols going around though with the thugs too.
So, yeah, but they're all dead now, right?
Well, even afterwards, you encountered some of the patrolling thugs after that big fight. So
by the very end, I mean.
Yeah, like Mr. G saw some coming in, and so yeah, they were around, and I'm pretty sure one of them recovered it. Like if you were gonna look for it, you wouldn't have been able to find it.
Oh, that's true, because by the time everything has happened, they would like that whole scene would have been cleaned up by the regular people.
Yeah.
Oh man, so that means we're gonna have to fight Emil, and he's got that rifle.
So you guys, but yeah, that was a big dramatic scene where you guys, and that actually had an impact, because I was kind of sticking in my head trying to stick to a reasonable amount of enemies. Like they don't have endless numbers. It's not like Resident Evil 4 where they could just keep throwing enemies at you and you just sort of buy into
limitless respawn.
Yeah, limitless spawning enemies. No, I wanted to stick to that in my head where I'm like, okay, there's a certain limit about the number of guys they have on site and that they have coming at you. And yeah, that fight kind of eliminated a huge chunk of them, you know, such to the point that there was less I threw at you later on.
Interesting.
Yeah, there was a couple of things, and
maybe we should just jump into crowds more often and start swinging swords and stuff, and just cut down the crowds for later.
Yeah, because that was the thing. Because after that part, you may have noticed, like, you don't see most of them around, and they all pretty much went back into the labs. But there was, you know, aside from people that they would send out to patrol every now and then, so
and get their feet cut off.
Yeah, and get their feet cut off. That was another thing that dwindled their numbers, is those darn bear traps.
Freaking bear traps are just at random locations.
Yeah.
So many ankles destroyed.
Just so many.
That's like your new party name, is just the ankle destroyers.
Right. We're the bear trap bandits.
Just him. That was nobody else. That was just him. He set them up. He defused them. He crit some ankles.
But yeah, so you want to talk talk a little
I
bit.
imagine like half the. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead. I was gonna.
I was gonna say, I just imagine like that's now what the Felicianos are, is just like half-legged people.
That's like the Yakuza, like they're a bunch of people without,
All the survivors.
yeah, without their with the thumbs or something, and then it's like
I think it's just random fingers. Like,
yeah, without their fingers, and it's like the Felicianos are now the gang without legs.
They go, what happened to you? Oh, it was a Feliciano.
Now they're just gonna attach guns to the bottom, and they're
Oh
gonna.
no!
Yeah. But yeah, so that kind of led though to that tragic moment at the end of that battle where we lost half the party, and that's what I was talking about. Kind of, that was interesting to see how you played into that idea of there are more ways to have a fail state for a character without killing them off, and you'd established to me beforehand that this was one of the possible fail states for a meal that would cause you to call it an ending for that character where you're done playing him.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about that a bit more?
So I don't remember if I initially, because I don't remember when this happened. If this was like before this arc, or if this was in the preparation for this arc.
Yeah.
So I think this might have been way before, like way earlier, when I was thinking, like when I had figured out what the overarching arc of this character would be.
Yeah.
Where I was like, there's.
I'm gonna go refill my water, but you continue because I think I know a lot of this stuff. But yeah.
Yeah. Basically, I knew that Emil was starting to turn sour. He was starting to go bad a little. But there was a way that he would have still been a good guy that I was shooting for. But I was like, there are a handful of scenarios that if they happened, Emil would basically just be like that would just be these are the things that would be enough to just push him just enough for that where he's no longer going to end up being that a good guy. So he wouldn't be somebody who could work in a party anymore. Among those things were let me see. I think I said a bunch of stuff like if somebody, I'm trying to remember what all they were, because only what I remember obviously is what happened. But I guess that, yeah, basically I just said if there would be a couple of scenarios that if they happened, Emil would become bad, and I would give him up as a PC, and he would be an NPC. He would become a non-player character, and I'll give him up to Raph. And I guess the one that happened was if somebody comes to him with an offer. I guess if somebody comes to him with an offer he couldn't refuse, or like if they were able to give him everything he needed, he would still. If a bad guy came up to him and said like, I can give you everything you needed, like if Wesker was around and we were dealing with him, which I guess Raph said we aren't going to be dealing with Wesker. If Wesker was like, hey, this whole global saturation thing is, this is my end goal, Emil would say, that actually sounds like a good idea, I'm in, and then I would immediately stop playing him.
Wow. Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of
a lot of them. I think a couple of them also were if Archaea does something sufficiently, I don't want to be rude.
Like destructive.
Yeah, sure. If Archaea does something sufficiently destructive,
like self-destructive or just destructive in general.
I don't know. Is there a difference?
That's a good question. I don't know. Yeah, so you had a number of like fail states planned for Emil, and this was one of them. I'm
trying to remember what all I said were because I only remember now. I now only remember the one that happened, which was I guess Archaea becoming what do you call it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was like
getting taken.
One you just described though too, as well. Like just like you come.
That I didn't know that was gonna happen.
Oh, I see.
Remember, I didn't know that was gonna happen. Like that. What happened? But what I was seeing was that Archaea got taken. Right. This was another one. If Archaea dies, I think was one of the things that I would stop playing Emil, because his entire livelihood, like his whole purpose in life, revolved around Archaea's existence. And if Archaea ceased to be around. Like if she was captured, if she was, or no, because if she was captured, he would go after her, obviously. But if she was dead or she was somehow no longer available, Emil would, as you saw, he would just like shut down. It's like, I have no other reason to live anymore, because Archaea was the reason I am continuing on, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, and then it ended up being that he was the one that plunged the dagger into her himself.
Yeah,
and that was quite a tragic ending.
Yeah, because he would rather. I don't want to say too much about his like end goals, because that's probably still going to come up. But he would rather her and him be dead than for him to not be able to enact his plans.
Mm-hmm.
Like he would rather be dead than not have his way.
Yeah,
basically.
Which that's pretty dark. that was the thing I was thinking about. Was it's kind of like a double tragedy, because it's not only the end of Archaea, it's the end of, like you said, it's the end of Emil as a player character, but the end of him in many ways too. Like that felt like a character death for him as well, of the character that he was since the beginning of the campaign.
Exactly.
So I presume, I guess that might be why you would stop playing him at that. But yeah, because the way I saw it, at least, he was always sort of the moral center of this party. And I guess
up until about later.
yeah, but I guess he's not anymore. But he was. That was his thing. Yeah. Like, he was the one virtuous person that was on the party. And, like, from... I don't know. I guess for me...
I think he also had the highest wisdom score, right?
Yeah, he had the highest wisdom. Yeah, all the wisdom and charisma left with the two characters you guys lost. So,
oh, no.
So that's why you guys
all of our social skills.
Yeah, that's why you guys had such trouble with social encounters towards the end. But...
It was so bad.
But yeah, so... And I don't know, for me, I guess it might be for me because I've, like, read Emil's backstory and stuff, and just, like, listening to his playlist, and, like, that... I still love that you included that Simple Man song on his playlist, because I felt like, looking at his background, his backstory, that just felt so him. And I was like, yeah, he is that kind of guy, where he's one of those good old-fashioned good men, you know? Like, someone you look at is just like, good man. Like that
person's got a solid head on their shoulders.
Yeah, like, that was the kind of person he was. But... not anymore.
I know, like his up until the party happened to him, his sole excitement in life was escorting drunks out of bars, because he's just that good of a guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that felt that kind of, I don't know, that sort of redoubled the tragicness of it to me. Was the fact that Archaea had died, who was this player character who was originally going to be like one of two player characters for this campaign. So that
man, the original player characters are dead.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, both of them
gone.
Both
of the originals, yeah. Back when this was originally just going to be Lauren and Lisa, it was just supposed to be those two characters, and now they're neither one of them player characters anymore. That's sad.
And
wow.
And a lot of that because the originally Emil was made with that kind of intention. A lot of Emil revolved around Archaea. Yeah. And then as the game kind of progressed, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to lean really heavily into this, because Archaea is making it very difficult for her not to be important.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was... Yeah, that was quite... That was quite sad. And I will say, like, I feel like the sadness of Emil going away really never quite sunk in with me until you put that tweet out afterwards, where you said your goodbye to Emil, and that made me really sad.
But
there's it's kind of like the same effect whenever Chris Evans put out his goodbyes.
Yeah, I was thinking that. That I remember when he put out that tweet. That tweet blew up when Chris Evans said goodbye to Captain America. So but yeah, it was a similar sort of thing, I guess. Yeah, my reaction to that was seeing that tweet. I was like, oh man, like he's gone. Like Lauren's moving on, and I'm like, that's. So yeah, that was just a generally sad situation, but narratively made a pretty interesting moment that played out that way. Although I did say the one thing I was kind of, I guess the one thing that I didn't really like about the way it played out, that's kind of like my one regret that I talked with you about, was the fact that, because like I was originally just trying to write Lisa's character out because I knew she wasn't going to be around, but I didn't like that she wasn't conscious during her death, because I would have liked to let her give her character last words. Because I think that's just a cool thing, is if you could give, you know, players a chance to give their characters last words. I like that. But thankfully she seemed all right with it. I talked with her afterwards, and you know, obviously there was a lot of follow up that had to be done after that episode, of people just touching base with everybody and making sure everyone's all right. But no, she actually took it. From what I could tell, she took it really well, though. She was all right with it.
I had done a lot of talking with her to make sure that I was like, this is the direction Emil is going.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is that's something you talked about with everybody too. You touched base to, you did the good player thing, which is to make sure you ask permission first. Because I know you went around and you're asking people like, hey, this is the direction I want to take this character. Is this all right with you? And I know for a fact you wouldn't have done it if anybody said no.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's just RPG lessons in general. I think more players need to take that to heart.
Ask permission.
You'll be surprised if you want to expand horizons. You'll be surprised by how well that could be done with just asking permission. Because there's a lot of things that would be considered like
taboo.
Yeah, like taboo, or like, as Matt Colville puts it, like wang rod stuff if you don't ask permission. Like wang roddery is what happens when you do stuff, like when you do that kind of stuff without asking.
Exactly.
You know, without communicating or without collaborating with your fellow players.
Yeah, I talk a lot in private. We do a lot of discourse on pretty much everything. That's a lot of stuff. But I talk a lot about the social contract and how there is always, in every social situation, a invisible, unspoken contract about what is and is not socially acceptable to do. As if you talk about it out loud, this social contract's like, hey, is this on the table for a friendship, or it's like we're in this public situation. Is anybody okay if I do this or not? It's like you'll be amazed with how much you are willing to get away with that is supposedly against. You can't do these certain things in social situations, as long as you get permission, though. It's doing things when somebody isn't ready for it. It's when somebody is taken by surprise by that it becomes socially taboo. Mm-hmm. It's just getting consent. It's all you need. It's just getting consent, and suddenly your avenues open up for a lot of different possibilities.
Yeah, and that's huge for RPGs, because again, there are a lot of taboos in RPGs. A lot of perceived taboos. So, and if you want to start pushing those boundaries, that's something you gotta start doing, and start just talking with people. But anyway, so that was kind of a huge event that I really wasn't planning for. I know I certainly didn't expect to get that huge of a campaign change in the middle of this arc. And that kind of put some more work on my shoulders. Thankfully, I'd gotten all the work of establishing this area done up front. But yeah, between that episode and the next one, I was like, okay, I need to figure out how this is going to work. So, but yeah, and that's why in the next episode, titled Scattered, appropriately, where your party was kind of scattered. And that's what I liked, was we ended up having, and it didn't entirely hit me that this was the way I had to play it out until, pretty late in the process, where I was like figuring out, because there's obviously millions of different ways the next episode could have gone. Millions of different ways the next episode could have started. And when I locked on to that like sort of thread of just like, Katara's the last one standing. Like, she's alone up there. That's when I realized, okay, that's my in. That's the story I could try to tell here. And so we kind of had a little bit different of an opening there, where it was like a sort of last man standing situation. and we showed what she was doing alone in the manor, which and yeah, then that was the thing too. I think, like, Mel was really worried about what might have happened in the next episode, but like, for me, I'm kind of like, unless you jump off the rooftop, you are safer than anybody has ever been in this series in a while.
If you are the sole player in a series,
yeah. It's like there's no way I'm gonna like put you in any immediate danger after all that. If you're like, because you're the person that's, again, that we're kind of homing in on to transition the story into its next phase after that.
I think a lot of that also has to do with the fact that a lot of players don't understand that GMs, or I guess a lot of players don't understand what GM's job is.
Yeah.
It's not to make the player's life hard. It's to place the players. It's to make the player's life dramatic.
Exactly.
Or the character's life dramatic.
Yeah. So, and that was the thing. Yeah, because Chauncey got captured by the Dawn. Emil had been captured. Arkea was dead and taken away. So, which Chauncey got his face beaten in by the Dawn. That was just a great moment where I feel like the Don Feliciano ended up being an unintentionally interesting villain to me.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I thought I wanted him to be interesting, and I did a lot of planning to make him interesting. But there was just a lot of scenes like that just sort of came together in ways that I wasn't expecting. For basically that just ended up giving opportunities to show how big of a threat this guy is, and. I guess that's just part of the beauty of RPGs, is you never know when scenes like that are going to happen, and when things you didn't plan for are going to make the narrative that much more interesting. And it sort of established him as this threat where you guys see him in action, you see how big of a threat he is, and you see him like at a moment that was of such high cost, where all of a sudden your ire is kind of set on this guy. You guys have something to avenge now.
It's personal.
Yeah, and you have something to avenge and someone to avenge it against. So, yeah, that was quite interesting how that ended up playing out. But yeah, Katara's last one standing. Chauncey made the wise choice of calling in the BSAA. They arrive. They get stalled by the governor, and then Pistol Grip Pete goes in as the Lone Ranger. Now, there were a lot of different ways that could have played out. That was actually something I gave Doc the option of how he wanted to proceed in that situation. I was like, okay, there are two ways I could see this happening. Either we pick up with Chauncey and play out some sort of escape, or we keep you in captivity and introduce a new player character into the party who can accompany the party to rescuing him, were basically the two options I gave. And I think we both sort of agreed that latter one sounds more interesting and more immediate. So that's how Pistol Grip Pete ended up happening.
Pistol Grip Pete happened. PG Pete.
Second favorite character of the series.
Which that was kind of great.
I'm not trying to be biased, but yeah, they're the two favorite people I've played currently.
That was kind of neat how that worked out, though, because I gave you free reign in your in Chauncey's unit. I was like, okay, yeah, I was researching into the way the structure of the BSA worked. I'm like, all right, you'd be an SOU soldier. You get a 12-man unit divided into 3 teams, 3 4-man cells. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I'll give you creative freedom if you want to establish who all these characters are. And so and so that's when you gave me that list of just basically all of the characters. He came up with like code names for all the characters and established like what their thing was. And basically, and they ended up being sort of like, I guess kind of like impromptu, like backup characters to a certain extent, where like if anything happens to Chauncey, you have all these characters already thought of. Which didn't know we were gonna end up needing that soon, but yeah.
Actually, a quick question. We can go and watch the scene that happened with Chauncey while he was out, right?
Yes, you guys can see that.
All right, because I didn't go and watch that yet.
It's not spoilery anymore.
Yeah.
I forgot now that it's over.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it wasn't like something that you would have you actually I guess, yeah, later on you actually ended up finding out anyways.
Yeah, you pretty much find out all the information that comes.
I just want to see Doc.
Yeah. I was gonna say you get all the exposition, but you don't get the scene, and the scene is amazing.
Yeah,
that's like probably one of my favorite scenes in this story arc, because it's just it's a great dramatic moment in my opinion. So there was that happened in that episode as well. So Katara's last one standing. She's making some calls. She gets contacted by Maya, and meanwhile, Chauncey's over in what you guys know now is the prison building, and he's in that back room. He's tied to a chair with Cambria, and they're talking, and Leonardo Bellucci walks in, and yeah, I almost feel like not talking about it in too much detail if you just want to watch it afterwards, but yeah, that's a great little scene. Also, I love, Doc, what you're telling me afterwards, where you're almost like trying to hide from the other players, like, or trying to disguise it.
It was something that I felt Chauncey would do, because Chauncey's notorious for like the eyes on the prize and not giving out details that could actually help everybody. It's like, it's like you'll find out at the worst possible moment. Like, Mr. G already knew this coming into this. Was like, me and Mr. G already had an outing where I've stolen from him. So, I mean, Mr. G should already expect this dude's not showing all his cards. What's going on? But yes, it was cool that it still ended up having that same effect for Chauncey, where it's like, you should have told people, they'd be more prepared. All hell breaks loose. Like, it's Chauncey's way of life. Is he's trying to do the greater good, but he's keeping secrets away that he shouldn't be. But I like playing him that way, because it seems like it's now his character.
Yeah. Well, I was also thinking, particularly of what you're saying of when you're on, because you're on the camera at a point, and we were in the side room. We were in a different voice channel, and you were talking about how like you're like kind of trying not to show like what you're
okay,
like you're like looking down.
Cause
and I think you joked at one point that you just wanted to just start like mock shooting.
Yeah, just start flailing around and just giving out all these like bang bangs and boom. Oh, it would have been so good, because everybody would have been like, "Wait, what is going on over there?" That totally ran through my mind, because it was like, either I protect myself by completely like showing no emotion while I'm doing this, or I show way too much emotion and I throw everybody completely off.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that would have been
So
funny.
be prepared for next story arc for me to have some moment where I go inside room and I am going to act a fool. Or am I?
Or are you? Or you're going to be acting a fool, and that's actually what's happening, though,
I was going to say,
yeah, that's what I mean.
Accurately acting a fool. It's like,
he's going to be like, oh, he told us he was going to do this.
You're flailing around, and it's just like, oh, look at him.
Yeah.
Nothing's actually happening. He's just having a nice chat, and he's like, he comes back, he's like, so Chauncey's dead.
Yeah. Come back to the
real life. Raph just bleeps back over like, I think Doc's having a heart attack or something.
Yeah, we just cut back to the main channel, and it's just Chauncey just like running away from some friggin' natives while they're throwing spears at him. Just like, it's gone wrong.
that would be Chauncey too. I made a mistake.
So yeah, that next episode was certainly very interesting though. So we got that scene with Chauncey, which other players I would now encourage to go watch. Where you find all these revelations, where he finds out him and Cambria have been infected, and he finds out that Leonardo Bellucci is his father. And but then we also have to introduce another player character, which we've talked about this a bit, I guess, already during this stream, which Mr. G is, I guess, little known fact, a player character that you already had ready.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, which is why he was behind in levels, whereas otherwise,
I came in level 6, I think.
Yeah, I think you came in which you leveled up in a hurry because you're
Real
at
quick,
such a
I think
low
I'm level 8
level.
now.
Yeah. No,
One
yeah,
arc leveled up twice.
yeah. You're here for half the arc, leveled up twice. So yeah, you want to talk about how that character was first introduced? Because I don't know. I know everyone here knows about it, but I don't know if the general audience, the viewers, know about it. We might have talked about it before, but
it was sort of the third arc when Chauncey had. Well, I don't know if he actually explained it or if you just kind of complained about it. But it has been brought up what happened. But I don't remember if I told you. Like I had an idea for. No, actually, I didn't even have an idea for a character yet. I just said like I wanted to play something. I wanted to do a little thing where I have another character, and I think I had a build ready to go, and you came up to me and I think you just said you have something where I can play another character in, and I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And then we came up with what Mr. G used to be, and do you want me to just do the whole like what exactly happened?
Yeah. Let's talk about that just so we can have an official place that we can point to.
Yeah.
Is what happened between Mr. G and Chauncey. So, I don't know. Unless you guys are gonna like explain that fully in the story at some point, but basically the scenario the scenario was
so I don't think either of us want to talk about it too much.
Yeah, it's like that awkward thing.
Yeah, it's like, it's awkward for Doc. Mr. G just doesn't talk about things.
Oh yeah, for Chauncey, yeah. But campaign-wise, what happened was this was after the Raccoon City arc and before the Beast arc. I ran a solo session for Chauncey. I knew I wanted to run a solo session where I take him to Rockford Island and give some extra setup and exposition for the start of the next arc.
Yeah, because we needed to get some info that would be pivotal for going into it next.
Exactly. And I was like, oh, Lauren wants to play more characters. This is a perfect opportunity to easily write you into something. So, and that's when Mr. G was first introduced. So basically, it was just a solo session, a little private session. Wasn't streamed, never recorded or anything.
Very, very small, only a couple of hours, I think.
No, yeah, it was very short. Of just Chauncey and Mr. G flying to Rockford Island. In the aftermath of the Rockford Island incident, it'd been like all rubble and stuff, and they were looking for intel on the Beast.
Because we knew he had been there.
Yeah. And so...
No. We knew that one of his targets was there.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah,
something attracted you guys there, and that's when... So they send in Chauncey and Mr. G, and that's how that character was introduced, was in this little private session that no one's ever seen, with just these two characters. And and in that session, I got to use early the audio log that we show at the beginning of the Beast arc, which was him killing Nora Lennon. So yeah, that was just like a short little private session for just that. So that's when Mr. G first appeared.
And I literally had only played him for I guess those couple hours before he went into the vault forever.
No, yeah. I mean, you'd been earning XP for him and stuff this whole time, too.
Like 100 at a time?
Well, yeah. Well, because you weren't doing absentee stuff for him.
Because I didn't want to. I didn't think, literally my idea was to play him once and forget about him forever. Yeah. The reason I didn't make a full character was just like, all right, here's just like this basic idea, this basic concept for a one-shot character, and never use them again. Because I already have a character. I don't need another character. Why would I need another character? It's not like I'm ever going to need another character.
Yeah, you said, though, that you were keeping him around in case you needed a backup, though, too.
Did I?
Yeah.
I probably did immediately, but that went away after like a month.
Oh. Well, you did still put in some work on him, though. He did gain some XP along the way. You did.
Okay, so there was when we first had him, right? And I guess I was initially excited because new character, blah, blah. I guess I may have said that. Everything in between was like, I really don't care about this guy. And then, I literally don't care about him. It's just, it adds another point to my XP gaining process, and it adds another step. Sometime at the end, I don't even remember why I started writing stuff for him, because I have no idea why I started writing stuff for him, but I did a couple of absentee, just kind of little missions that he was running.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and then that was pretty interesting, and that for me kind of helped flesh him out a bit too. when you were heading into this new arc, because it was like that was sort of became my mental image of him. Almost more so than his backstory, which I guess that's kind of like the meat of it is kind of some of those missions. Like that kind of added a little bit more meat to his backstory for me and gave me a little bit more to work with. But yeah, so that's how that character was first introduced. Which obviously, as I guess your character is sort of established, there's a little bit of conflict between those characters during that mission, where Chauncey still basically tried to steal the data.
Yeah, because like,
and Mr. G was.
We were going in to get the data, and we're like, all right, it's a joint operation, CIA and the what was he with, the NSA? Because he was with his sister.
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, let's do this. Immediately after they get back, Chauncey steals it from the glove box or whatever. It's somewhere, and he just like takes it and just walks off.
Yeah, I janked that shit.
That was the last.
I thought it was out of your pocket. I'm pretty sure.
It definitely wasn't out of my pocket. It was on the helicopter somewhere. Some storage compartment, I think.
Oh yeah, maybe. All I know is I successfully stole it from a spy. A guy that should always.
Gene knew, and I talked to Raph after this, and I was like, "There's two things that are going to happen. He's going to report. He's going to report back. But at the time, he didn't have this one particular trait that I've given him now. So I had given him the option of like, so he's either going to take this personally, and he's going to go and kill Chauncey, which I don't think is a very good idea.
Probably not. You are quite the squishy one.
No, you would have been dead. There's nothing you can do when you're sleeping. So,
but the thing is like I'm really hard to hit, and once you hit me,
no, you're not hard to hit when you're sleeping. You don't sleep with your armor.
I don't sleep. I'm tireless.
That's true. At the time, you were. But yeah,
just the jammies.
I have armor jammies.
Armor
tactical
jammies.
My level.
Tactical jammies. But yeah, like he was either going to go and like assassinate you because that was his job, and you had taken government secrets, or he's just gonna I think that was it. It's like he's gonna report it in, or I think I said it initially, like he's gonna report it in, make sure that he never has a government job again, and is probably going to try and kill him. But I don't know how that's gonna work, because I didn't want to do too much with this character and kill a player character in this little tiny thing.
Yeah.
Or rather have a fight with a player character, I should say.
No, yeah. So
just for this little tiny incident, so I was like, just leave it at the
reporting him.
Reporting him and basically marking him as a government
like blacklist, basically.
Yeah, what do you call that when you're not a traitor, you're
just
like a whistleblower.
Yeah, like a
no.
I know what you're trying to say. But
not an expatriate either, but
no,
yeah,
I know. I think I know what word you're going for, but I can't think of it right now either.
But yeah, wanted to mark him as somebody who was like some sort of traitor.
Yeah, enemy of the state.
Enemy of the state, something like that, where it's like, yeah, this guy's stealing CIA secrets.
Yeah, so which you succeeded at that. Succeeded at reporting and banning him. But yeah, and that's actually a thing that I don't think most people realize too. And according to you, Lauren, I had Katara roll for this. I don't remember having her roll for this, but according to you, I did. Because I remember wanting to have Katara roll to see if she recognized Mr. G, because the party has encountered Mr. G a couple of times before.
I should say I remember you making a roll, and I thought that's what it was for.
Okay, yeah, because I don't know.
I very specifically making a roll, or having you make her do a roll, and I immediately thought like, oh, this, like, because I think you said roll a quick history check or something like that, and I was like, oh, there's like, I don't think there was anything that we were doing at the time that would have required a history check. And then I was like, oh, this has to be to see if she recognizes him. and I think she rolled something pretty low, and you're like, yeah, nothing seems familiar about the situation. And when you said seems familiar about this, I was like, that definitely was to recognize him.
I see. Yeah. I don't quite recall it, but that was the thing that I kind of wanted to establish, because the party has met Mr. G a couple of times, throughout this campaign, and in fact, let's point out the times that they have met him. So first time they met him was at the beginning of the Beast arc, after you guys were like fighting in that neighborhood. You killed the giant worm, and then you went back to the FBC camp, and Mr. Fox was there, and you had a little encounter with him where he kind of touched base.
He had his bodyguards.
Yeah, and he had 2 bodyguards. One of them was Mr. G.
And unfortunately, Chauncey, or rather, Doc wasn't there for that, to run Chauncey.
Yeah, that was kind of what that was, like, something that we were kind of hoping for, was because Doc just wasn't there for like the first half of that session too. Like it wasn't even yeah, it wasn't even the whole session. He was just like pretty much absent for that part where it was like, yeah, Mr. G was there and Chauncey was there, but Doc wasn't there, and I was just like yeah.
So I'm like lost in this moment. Like, wait, what are they even talking about? Like, so wait, when did this take place?
This was
at the beginning. We were in Chicago.
Yeah, the first time you guys were in Chicago.
It was at the BSAA like little encampment thing.
No, it was the FBC.
Or the FBC encampment thing, and
this was when back when Chauncey first applied for the FBC too. Was at that camp. So yeah, when
Chauncey and Emil both.
That's true. Yeah, so this was way back when. Let me see if I could get the specific episode number. If I could go back in the previously on and find it.
While you're doing that, funny note. Apparently, I was looking through some of our metadata the other day. Uptown Chicago is actually a pretty big hit for that episode.
Oh,
like
really?
Searching like as Uptown Chicago, the search term, our video pops up for that.
Wow. That's actually really fascinating because, again, that was like an area that I did lots of research for to make it feel like it was that place. And to the point that the maps were straight up outlined from, real street, like Google Maps Street View screenshots. I was like, oh yeah, I'll take this particular block and say that's where you guys are. And I had it all sorted out in my notes and in my head of just like where specifically these take place. So that's funny though. I think it was in New Prospects because the Ascent was you guys fighting the worms, and I think when you guys got back to the camp, that's when we ended that episode.
Yeah.
Because that was you guys going through the apartment building, and then
that was after we had cleaned out that area.
And then I think it's episode 26, New Prospects, was the episode that happened in, where we gave some closure to that at the beginning, in which Mr. Fox shows up and he has 2 bodyguards, and one of them is Mr. G. So, but yeah, again, Doc, you were not there for that. So that was
the only one who would have recognized them.
Yeah, the only one who could have recognized them. But I just
Chauncey was there.
Yes, Chauncey was.
I just wasn't.
Yeah. I think I said at some point, like during that conversation, those two were just staring intently at each other. Because I knew there had to be something going on.
Well, because you asked, you asked me, does Chauncey react in any way? And I just point out, it's like, he's like giving him the stink eye.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Because I knew that, like, if Doc was there would have been some words.
And that was the first time.
So we had to do something.
That was the first time you guys encountered him. The second time, I think, was also in Chicago when you guys were going after the Umbrella HQ. And after the Umbrella HQ bit, you guys got picked up by the van in the back.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, Mr. Fox was there, and he had his 2 usual bodyguard agents. And Mr. G was there as well. But Doc was there during that time, but I think you guys just had too much on your mind because there's that whole dramatic confrontation with Aiden and all that was going on, and you guys just lost Aiden, and, Archaeo was all sort of, I guess, emotional in that moment, and Chauncey was just sort of...
I think half of us were at 1 HP.
Yeah, you guys were all beat up too, so... Yeah, Chauncey didn't necessarily interact with Mr. G there, but you guys did see him there. So you guys have met this character a couple of times, but this is the first time, I guess, during the main campaign that you've been playing him. So
Wait, what was that again?
Well, this is the first time during the main campaign that you've been playing.
Oh, yeah, during the main campaign.
Yeah.
I had to come up with like a character to give him because like he was mostly a build for the most part. I think he had rolled personality traits for the one shot, and I was like, I need to turn this person into a character. This is not like he's a build, and this is not a character that I would play in a long campaign.
Yeah.
So I had to characterize him, and I eventually came up with something pretty interesting. And
no, yeah, I think it is pretty interesting. I can't wait to see this to see how like this plays out, how this kind of character.
And then after playing him again in a longer campaign style thing, I was like, oh man, I think he plays differently than how I thought he would too.
Yeah.
And that also influenced a little bit of how I wanted to build him in with his personality and all that.
Mm-hmm. So Mr. G enters the fray after everyone gets all scattered, because it turns out Mr. Fox knew where Emil was and sent Mr. G to keep tabs on him. Yeah. And so Mr. G was basically outside the estate, just keeping an eye to see what happens. And as soon as he sees people,
binoculars.
Yeah, with your binoculars. As soon as he sees people jumping off rooftops, he's like, "Okay, I need to call this in. Can I go in?" And Mr. Fox gives him the go ahead, and that's how Mr. G enters. And you kill a bunch of dudes,
a whole lot of people.
I ran you through a brief thing. I wouldn't call it a solo session, but I just went through, had you roll to see how many resources you had by the time you got in there. Which is quite a few. Because apparently you had some leftover resources from the last time you played him.
Which was years ago.
Yeah. But yeah, so you kind of enter and you
in the story of those years.
Yeah, you guys kind of come together for this makeshift party with Katara and PGP and Mr. G. That just sounds like a gang at that point.
It does.
PGP, Mr. G, and Katara?
It sounds like the weird makings of a rap
crew.
Yeah, like that was like Tupac and NWA and all that. Like it's just too many little handles.
Yeah. You got Bank Katara, that's what you got. So you guys came together and sort of I'll say that was the session. In fact, you put in the thumbnail where you guys went into the safe in that big walk-in closet. And probably one of the most game-breaking things that you guys got to early in this arc, I think, was getting that safe open. But I guess game-breaking things that you guys never capitalized on. Because...
Wait, which one?
Was getting into the safe. Because once you got in the safe and you found that blackmail, I was like, oh, shoot. There's nothing if you guys bring this up with like anybody on the outside, there would be nothing keeping the BSAA, from going in full force.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you guys never ended up doing that. So
I was actually still confused about what happened with the blackmail, because they didn't want to go in because there was blackmail.
Yeah, the governor was stonewalling them because he was in the Feliciano's pocket.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
So they could show up, they just couldn't do anything.
Yeah, exactly. They could show up, but he had to just basically make sure the police keep delaying them until the Felicianos have cleared everything, destroyed their facility and all their evidence and stuff.
Okay.
Was basically
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, it was basically the general gist of it.
Yeah, so what I was wondering was what was stopping BSAA? It was the police was stopping them.
Yeah, and the police.
Yeah, the local police were stopping them, because I was a bit confused at the end about why the blackmail was stopping the BSAA from going in.
Yeah.
Because I was like, that doesn't. Should they not care about what the governor says?
Yeah. That was the thing, is that the local police were like,
that makes a lot more
fighting
sense.
for jurisdiction and all that.
Mm-hmm. They were doing the whole this is our crime scene.
Yeah, exactly. There was that whole, and that was the red tape. So, but when you guys found that there was a possibility, I knew there was a possibility, which is why I wasn't going to. The combination you guys were supposed to find in the laboratories, and I didn't. It would have just been among the stuff that you guys found in the residential area with all the bunks and the lockers and stuff. But now I didn't end up having it in there after you guys got that open. But yeah, that was a thing that, like, at that point I would have been like, okay, you guys get the combination, and then you could get that and possibly bring in more reinforcements towards the end. But but I did know that there was always going to be a possibility that you guys could break into a safe, and so I was like, okay, I'm prepared at any point for this to turn into this kind of war zone type story where Chauncey gets to lead his team. But yeah, and then you guys.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna go ahead and say that I during the game, I had made absolutely no connection with the blackmail and the red tape that was going on.
Yeah,
like I literally thought that was just flavor.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was an item. I thought it was flavor of just like, yeah, you know, this is the Don. He's got papers on a whole bunch of stuff. This one's the governor.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, cool, take that. Because nobody's gonna that's not important for the story that's happening right now. There's no reason this is important for. This is just the Dawn stuff.
Probably didn't help that you only got that after rolling a natural 20 on your history check to identify the people involved. Like that probably made it feel like a little bit extra flavor, but
probably yeah.
But no, yeah, that was potentially important. But like I said, I was prepared either way for this to be sort of guns a-blazing, and also for this to be just like your guys' little misadventure. But yeah, so there was that. Then you guys started figuring to how to rescue Chauncey, and you guys had that document that basically outlined where they spread out all their keys, and so you start figuring how to get into the prison, and so you head over to the mines.
The objective map.
The objective map. Which also you guys encounter the merchant again, which I guess two characters encounter for the first time. Yeah.
Well, that's true because that was PGP at the time.
Yeah, it was PGP. And you also had that bit of foreshadowing where you saw the pit out in the yard, which I guess that's still there.
Really wanted to look under that.
I guess that's still there in current times. I don't know if the BSA is going to do anything about it. No, they own the place.
Depending on how deep it is, you should probably fill that. That's a liability.
I don't know if I understand the pit. Like, is it literally just a hole where that thing slept? Like, or is there like a way that you could get into the bottom and he happened to be down there?
Be huge is how you get that up and down there.
Well, yeah. But I mean, like, I thought maybe there was like, what did they do? Just like get him big and throw him in there, or like grow him from itty bitty to big down there, or did they have there's like a door in the facility that goes down there? Because then they gotta feed the thing, and how do you just control it? Like, I get the whole
they can't control it.
Mind control. Well, I thought it was still like mind controllable.
Well, because it was a Plaga creature, but they do establish in Resident Evil 4 when you fight the Gigante for the first time that it can't be controlled.
Because it's wild, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's feral, I should say.
Yeah, it's feral.
So, like, why do you keep that in your hole?
Well, that's the thing. They just.
It's a bomb. It's what it is.
Yeah, it's a bomb.
It's a weapon.
They keep them down there. That's why when you guys come back from the mines, you see how they utilize them is just shoot them and basically be like, they did it, and run. So like that's how they use it.
Make it mad and be out of the area when it starts killing things.
Yeah, that's basically the gist of it. And just like throw food down every once in a while, but like as long as it's
chuck a stag down there.
Yeah, as long as it's not angry, like it doesn't really have any ambition to just prance around or do anything. But so yeah, that's the thing.
Prances around. I just picture it galloping now in the woods.
Yeah. So yeah, that was interesting getting to introduce those. Then when you guys come back from the mines, Mr. G gets bear trap happy, and you guys fight the giant.
You don't throw traps at a rogue character and not expect them to use it. They were a bit archaic.
I definitely expect them to disarm it, but I guess I should be expecting you guys to use it now, because you guys take the tripwire bombs, you guys take the bear traps.
I feel like me and Lauren and Mel all get together and strategically have like a connection in our heads. Like we all strategize together, because if you don't know it, Mel knows it. If Mel don't know it and you don't know it, then Lauren knows it. It's like it all keeps trickling together. So it's like there's not going to be a missed opportunity of a possible strategy that's going to come up, because it's like, ooh, bear traps in the woods. Okay. All the ankles are gone. And that's just the way it works out.
Yeah.
You give me a tripwire bomb and say using it like a tripwire bomb. I throw it on a vehicle, shoot it, I throw it on the wall, shoot it, and explode it, so that everybody can get through the wall. It was just the way it works out. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I like the way we work together in that sense.
Mm-hmm. Which you guys can do now that you have Mr. G in your party. Like, there's a lot more elaborate plans that you guys can execute now. Like, I just think back to, because you're assassin subclass, because as the folks at home
it's also
may
my
notice,
job.
Yeah, it's also your job. As the folks at home may notice, like, the agent is pretty much identical to the rogue, for the most part, and the
rogue is it's a straightforward class. It does what it needs to do.
Exactly. And then the
there's
assassin,
not really much you need to do to change it.
Yeah, assassin subclass also pretty much the same as the assassin rogue. So, and I just think back to like Critical Role. They had a rogue assassin for the entire first campaign in the way of, Liam O'Brien's Vaxel Dawn. So, and they did some pretty elaborate stuff where they would just be like, I just think back to the first arc when they're in the Underdark, and it's just like, oh yeah, we're infiltrating this compound and we got to take out this mind flayer and there's a bunch of other goons around. It's like, how do we do that? And they just construct these elaborate plans around the fact that they know he can do so much freaking damage if he just gets the first hit in and if he gets that surprise round. And so you guys can now start to pull
especially
off
when I'm of equal level.
No, yeah, even more so. But
because I was still doing decent damage, being 2 to 3, I think 2 to 3 levels under everybody else.
Yeah, it's ridiculous how much damage you can do if you get the surprise.
Yeah.
Which I'll say, that plan you guys hatched when you were fighting Big Billy to just like detonate that ledge, that could have worked out really well if the rolls were there. That was a good plan. But unfortunately it just wasn't, because if he fell, that would have been like 10d6 falling damage. So that would have given you guys a good solid head start.
Would I have been able to get sneak attack on the fall damage?
No.
I think we were like underestimating the size of the hole compared to the explosives we were using.
Yeah, I think we thought the explosives were a lot bigger than they were.
It's like throwing one of those little black hat firecrackers into a cave. That didn't collapse at all.
Yeah. So he roughed you guys up pretty good. And then you guys got into the prison, had a couple more encounters, discovered Sarah and her all of her stuff. You guys fought the Garrador, and then you guys found Chauncey's stuff, and then you guys made your way into that big chamber where you met Leonardo Bellucci after rescuing Chauncey, of course. Mm-hmm. Which, yeah, that was that was an interesting series of events, and that was something I sort of had to retcon in. Was like, oh yeah, I forgot they like, because I think when I first did that room with Chauncey in the side room, I told him that like he could see his gear out on a table in front of him, but I realized that Leonardo Bellucci probably would have just like made sure that's out of his reach, on his way out. So he would have just moved that to that secure place. But yeah, so but that was just assumed to have happened somewhere along the way. Also, he's short one eye now.
Yep.
Unless he decides to do something about it. I don't know who's going out next.
I think that's going to be a permanent thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something like Okay, so the description I got is that the eye is still there, but it's like really messed up, correct?
Yeah.
But like the description that I'm giving is the eye's gone. Coming back. Like if you look at him like, yeah, he may end up getting a glass eye or something, but I'm picturing him like that eye is gone, like thored out, like it's gone.
Well, because like
it
he
was
did, like,
sufficiently
I
damaged that
imagine.
sufficiently damaged it couldn't be recovered.
Yeah. Like it's gonna take a significant amount of surgery to fix it, and Chauncey's just like, nah, just take it
Just get
out.
rid of it.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like,
You're gonna do surgery, just remove it.
If we act quickly, we can save it. And you're just like, just take it out.
Yeah.
It's cheaper.
It's like a sore tooth. It's just,
Yeah.
you don't get the sore tooth fixed. You get it janked out.
Which that is something I was sort of experimenting with in this arc. And it's going to be a more official thing from this point out, which is this homebrew that Lauren introduced me to, of this idea that, basically to make hitting 0 hit points more of an event, more of something that you remember, there's going to be a chance of injury when you reach 0 hit points. Now, with this arc, I kind of played it up, was like, okay, each time somebody hit 0 hit points, there's going to be some consequences for that, which there would have been for PGP, but you guys... he got
immediately
out,
got rid of him.
Yeah, promptly afterwards. But because he, after he got just like smashed by the giant, but
a couple times.
Yeah, several times. That's gonna be a bit more official of a thing in the rest of this campaign, because I've developed a system for it now. I'm like, okay, this is how it's gonna be, so that I'm not just like doing it kind of willy nilly. Just every time you get downed, there's gonna be injuries. So now there's gonna be a chance that you could get injured, and there's different degrees of severity of injuries that you could get. But for this one arc, it kind of worked out well. Mr. G went down once. He got a slight injury from that.
Thankfully, it didn't end up having to be used. But
yeah.
I don't think I ever said what would have happened, like what happened with me in the games, like in the streams. But basically, I was playing it up like he had broken ribs, and he was like, I'm having trouble to move. But the effect that I got was called broken body, and if I hit danger, I hit danger, I had double the amount of fatigue that I normally, an extra point of fatigue, so I would have been at 3 fatigue, which total in this system gives us disadvantage on attacks.
So I don't think you did end up,
which would have been very bad for an assassin or for an agent, because I can't get a sneak attack if I have disadvantage on an attack.
That's true. Yeah, that'd be particularly bad for you.
Yep. Oh, my ribs.
But yeah, so that's gonna be a bit more of an official thing going forward. But you guys have that big battle with Leonardo Bellucci, the underboss. I gotta say, I love the thumbnail for that episode. Like, I don't know, you can't much tell unless you're like looking at it in Discord or something, but you can't much tell at the thumbnail size. But there were like those little critters running around all throughout that image.
If you squint and you know they're there, you can see them.
Yeah, you should post like fuller sizes on Twitter or something.
Yeah,
these are pretty cool thumbnails, some of them.
I don't... YouTube thumbnails are based around this whole clickbait design, and I hate clickbait design. Because technically it is good design. It is very good design. It is designed entirely for you to click on the thumbnails, and if they are successful, you do. And I hate that. It's very... I think it's toxic. But I don't intend, when making thumbnails for these, I don't go out thinking I'm making a thumbnail for a video. I go out with the intention to make a work of art that captures a scene in the episode.
It's almost like a picture for a chapter book.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like one of those things you flip through and it's just like chapter whatever, little full page color splash image, and it's like, that's what I intend them to be. It's just like a snapshot of something that happened in the episode.
So yeah, you guys have your epic battle with him. Chauncey gets the finishing blow against his father, which that was speaking earlier. You're talking about how I track health with how you damage these people after they transform. Because with that one, it was a bit more convenient, because there was like the definitive difference between the big creature and then the human host who's inside of it. And so when Chauncey gets that first shot in on him, that directly damaged the host in a way that was stuck into the fight, which it was a good thing for that too, because if it wasn't for that first hit that he got before the fight, that probably could have been a worse ending for you guys. But yeah, that first hit was what made that possible for him to kill him in that round.
Mm-hmm.
Just barely, though. Just barely. Yeah. It was... Although, well, if I'm to be completely frank, I did fudge it a bit because he did have 1 hit point left. But I was like...
That's good enough.
Well, it's always the thing. I think
1 hit point is basically dead.
Yeah, I think most GMs would rule that same way. Like you were saying at the end of our that campaign we did a while back, that you GM, Lauren, like the Forgiven. I did it at the very end of that campaign. Like, my character happened to do exactly the right amount of damage to kill the big enemy. But if I was like off by one or 2 hit points, like, you would have given it, because my character was literally giving his life in that move.
Yeah, I was saying, like, if you were off, like, probably I would have in that scenario, I probably would have said 1 or 2 hit points. I would have given it to you. But I guess a sufficiently large amount of time has passed that I can say that he had 1 hit point left.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, there was 1 hit point remaining on that boss too.
Really?
For the final boss in Forgiven. I fudged that one as well.
You know what? That's good GMing, though. I think we both... because, like, it's so close...
the story.
It's so close to being precisely perfect, right?
Yeah.
So close.
Yeah, because I was doing the math for it, and I was like, no. That's like... he can't be alive. It can't be alive. It's a 1 hit point. It's dead.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Dead.
Same thing with Bellucci. I was like, he has 1 hit point left. It's like, I'll just give it to you. Yeah. So that was because it was just so nearly perfect. Like, at that point, it's like when the amount is off by just that much, it's like that's as good as dead. That thing's not gonna survive it.
Mm-hmm.
But so
what did they say about a stiff breeze?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it was stuck to a wall, so
that's true. And indoors.
He was going anywhere. Yeah.
But yeah, so you guys managed to take him out. Chauncey says his goodbyes. I like that, because that was one thing that I was really curious about, was how Chauncey was going to react to his father figure. Because, you know, I obviously had a way I was playing him that was, I guess, a little bit more obviously villainous. But, you know, from his perspective, he had good intentions, but, like, at the same time, he was going about it in a very dark way, which I guess his motivations you guys didn't really get to hear much of.
Yeah, it's true, because he just got shot.
That was mostly established in that scene that he had alone with Chauncey. But yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else you wanted to add about that? About the way Chauncey, like, feels about knowing his father figure? Or not father figure, but his biological father?
Well, like, to be honest, like, rolling into the whole campaign, I just assumed the Dawn was going to be my dad.
Yeah.
And then, like, so, like, that's what I was thinking. And then when that happened, like, I was just like, oh, wait, this wasn't even the dude. And then, but then when you actually play it, like, as the character, so, like, Chauncey didn't go in going, this is my daddy. I went in going, this is my daddy.
Yeah.
So when Chauncey finds out, I don't think he's, like, as beaten down as, like, most people would be over, you know, meeting up their dad and finding out their dad's trash.
Literally,
like,
the worst.
Yeah, like Cambria, yes, but, like, Chauncey's one of the people that you would just assume has a backbone and doesn't need a daddy anymore. Like, that guy lost out on his opportunity. So
one of those things where it's like he grew up without it, and it's like he became self-sufficient. Like, I don't need it anymore.
Yeah,
I needed it then, but not now.
Yeah, not now, not anymore.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't think he's wrecked by that. I think it's more of, like, him embracing the fact that he proved that he didn't need this guy in his life.
I guess that's kind of true. Yeah, you proved it in combat.
Yep. I proved that I am not the coward, and I'm not weak, and I'm not like this guy, so I'm already better in all different ways.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I like that sort of perspective you brought to it. That definitely came through in the RP, which I'll say that was something that there was a little bit more setup for that you guys could have seen. For example, in the second floor of the manor, there was on the west side, there was only 2 bedrooms there. There was, because there was the guest rooms on the other half, but then there were only 2 bedrooms on the west side, which was the master bedroom, and then there was another bedroom, and that bedroom would have been Bellucci's room. And if you guys were to like look around and say like, oh, do I see anything identifying around here? You would be able to pretty easily tell that it's Bellucci's room. And if you looked well enough, you might have even been able to find some like an old photograph of Chauncey's mother and like him with Chauncey's mother and things like that. So
wait, where was this again?
This was in the manor.
Where in the manor?
On the second floor, on the west side, there was 2 bedrooms. There's the master bedroom, and then across from it, there was some other bedroom.
Yeah,
and that was Bellucci's room.
So we just didn't find it when we were tearing it apart then.
No, yeah.
So we just didn't roll it up,
that was like a possibility where if you guys did inquire, if you could look about this room and see if there's any, anything identifying.
So, like, during cleanup operations, will that come to my desk?
That's true, probably, yeah.
Yeah, you have it now.
So, yeah, then I could use something like I can get a dartboard on the break and... Or no, I don't know. I'll figure something out that makes him...
Yeah.
Makes it work out.
Yeah. But this was fun, though, like, delving into Chauncey a bit as a character, because it's like, in the end of the day, he is a pretty simple character, like, where he's just like, there aren't a lot of facets to him, like, and I don't think you would argue that, right, Doc? But
no.
Yeah, like,
no.
But yeah, it's interesting to see his commitment to that kind of simplicity, where it's just like, it's, he meets, his biological father, and he's just like, I'll friggin' beat you too, and it's,
yep.
But yeah, he's just that completely like self-sufficient fighting man. And also, it was pretty neat, also just like revisiting and bringing up some of those backstory elements, right? Like he visited, what was it? His grandparents' grave at the beginning of this arc. That was just a little small scene where you like visited that grave site. You saw his grandparents' headstones, and also Bagheera, who was the guy who mostly raised the Clancy triplets.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was cool getting to dredge some of that up. And I feel it almost sets up the rest of the arc, since that happens in the first episode, too. It sets it up a bit, where it's like, no, yeah, we're going to get some more insights into Chauncey.
I like, obviously, because I'm, again, biased, I love my character. Like, I don't want to give my character up for anything. But like I liked being able to, I guess, like open myself up to RP as well, because this is still fresh to me. So like it was nice from being just a player to being the actor as well in this whole arc, because I got to open that up for me as well. So you got to see not only Chauncey grow as the character, but you got to see me grow as the player.
Yeah. And I feel like that's been a bit of a journey, since you're kind of like the newest to this role-playing game stuff, and seeing you progress as a player. But that was something like we kind of talked about, I think, early on, was when you first created Chauncey, like he was almost like, he was a bit of a joke, He had like this mullet, and he had like this panther tattoo, and he was looking like, well, the design inspiration was,
It was Miami Vice.
Miami Vice, yeah. Yeah. He was just flamboyant. He was like this joke character. But by the time we were getting done with Raccoon City, I remember you like coming to me at one point and being like, "Man, I really didn't know I was gonna fall in love with this character that much." And it's like, now you were telling me, it's like, as soon as Raccoon City is done, first thing that's happened is that mullet is going. Like, he's just not that that kind of character anymore.
That's not him anymore. Yeah.
So, and I feel like this was almost the fulfillment of that, was that arc of just like, yeah, you've fully embraced and fallen in love with this character, and it's like we get to see the full breadth of you characterizing him in this.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, so after that big battle, you guys infiltrate the Feliciano labs. You encounter a generator. and
did we only encounter the one?
well, you did encounter
Because
more
there
than
were
one,
a
but
few.
you set loose the other ones and you didn't fight them.
Oh yeah, I mean to say, we only fought the one, right?
Yeah.
Because the other ones we sicked on.
Yeah.
Oh, that poor guy whose foot was stuck in a bear trap.
No, yeah, it was brutal.
He got wrecked. That guy had a bad day and then he died.
Yeah. That's always the absolute worst, when you have a bad day and then you die.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, I'm glad you guys went in through the vents, because like, well, it's again that sort of like tactics thing where like I did want to clearly establish that there were two ways to go about entering this laboratory. There was the loud way and there was the subtle way, and that's pretty much the difference between the two paths. So, and you guys discovered the subtle way first, but then you guys like we kept poking around and found the main like front door basically. But yeah, but going that route did allow you guys to get like that eavesdrop in with seeing the communications room, seeing, you know, the Dawn and Walker and Scott and Ronan, which that was very interesting because that scene was originally going to play out. First of all, a lot had to change about it because obviously it was highly pre-written, but it had to change a lot because of the events that happened over the course of that.
That's
arc.
true, because a lot of they got a lot more information than they probably were supposed to have.
Yeah, exactly.
By the time that like we got there.
Yeah, so I did have to change quite a bit of that over the course of writing it, but that was originally, and Lauren, I'm not sure if you surmised this, that was originally supposed to be the reveal for Emil. Was that scene?
Yes.
That was supposed to be the scene where you're looking through those vents and Emil sees Scott and he just like Kill Bill sirens, you know, just like.
What would have happened if you went the loud way, not through the vents?
You wouldn't have gone that scene, and you would have ran into a combat encounter first thing.
I know, but like with the Scott reveal.
That's a good question. I'm trying to think if I had an alternative. You probably would have seen him on his way out. But he would have been like, "Oh heck nah, I gotta go."
It's like
you
that
just would have
scene
seen him heading for the hangar.
Just let that scene in Ragnarok where he's just sipping on when Odin is sipping on the wine, he's like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, a little bit like that. So
you're not supposed to be here.
But I'm glad because, and we collaborated a bit for that audio log, or a good bit. We collaborated for that because I knew that the Scott reveal wasn't going to be dramatic if it wasn't with Emil. Mm-hmm. Like, I just knew that because he was the only person that had a relationship with that character, and he was really the only person who was guaranteed to recognize him to begin with, because most of the party just had not had any interactions with Scott whatsoever. So,
like, I think, did we already establish? Like, I think Katara met
Scott and Eddie once. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think anyone else has.
Nobody else had. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I knew that going in was like, yeah, this won't be dramatic if Emil's not around. So I collaborated with you. I was like, okay, I guess I could just, even though you're not playing this character anymore, I guess I could just reveal this to you because I know it won't be dramatic any other way. And in order to present it dramatically, I was like, how about we do this audio log? And that'll be kind of your closure for Emil, and also present this massive plot twist that was supposed to happen in this arc still in a dramatic fashion where we get to see how Emil reacts to that. So that was the fun part about doing that audio log, was we got to see how does Emil react to this reveal. And it's quite interesting.
And he gets that moment where somebody offers him something better.
He does. And yeah, because there was a lot that I was trying to, after you were done playing Emil, there's a lot I was trying to ask you where I was just sort of beating around the bush. And
how would Emil react if somebody came up to him? And I'm not saying exactly what they're saying, but I'm just like,
yeah. So it worked out a lot better that we did that audio log.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And it's always cool to just collaborate with somebody on those too, because I really enjoy working on those audio logs. Those are a ton of fun to produce. But it's mostly just like me, and sometimes I involve some other voice actors. But that was cool getting to... I think that was the first time we've done an audio log. Wait, no, that's not true. There was all the Archaea logs.
Mhm.
But since then, that's the first time we've done an audio log with a player character involved. So yeah, that was pretty neat. But yeah, so you guys now have the identities, though. You guys now know Scott and Ronan are those two henchmen that you've seen every now and then.
Yep.
And you guys run around the labs. You kill some jerk who was in one of the cells.
Oh, I was gonna ask, who the heck was that guy?
He was just some guy.
But like,
random death.
like, what did he serve no other purpose other than to get killed by us?
Well, I didn't know he was gonna get killed. He was a potential ally. Well, actually, no, he wasn't a potential ally. I take that back because
No, yeah, he wasn't.
He was essentially just there to make things more interesting. If I'm to be frank, I just wanted to see what you guys would do.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah,
I was like, I had,
up. Well, because I had those two
whole...
cells there because I knew we might have needed to introduce Sarah Black, and so I was like, okay, there's a couple of places that could happen. She could be locked up in the prison, or she could, if not at that point, she could be locked up in these cells. But yeah, after that, I was like, okay, we got an empty cell now. Because since I was reserving that, I was like, I could just fill it up with somebody to just make things more interesting, give you guys more choice, have someone to bounce off of. And Dr. Campbell was one. Well, I think Dr. Campbell was a bit of a revelation. Because I wasn't necessarily fully intent on having her from the beginning. But in the middle of the arc I conceived of, I was like, okay, there needs to be more people to bounce off of here that can make things more dramatic. And then I realized I figured out her story, a lot of which, most of which came up, but there were some aspects that you guys didn't necessarily delve into, but there were some answers prepared if you were to ask her certain pertinent questions. But yeah, so she was there, and she was actually useful, and then Joey Romano was there, and he just wasn't... he was just basically another infectee that they were just locking in there until he turns, which at that point he had turned.
I had this whole conspiracy theory plan, or not plan, but like in my head of just like how he was like he was somebody from Mr. G's background or something, and it's just like somebody that like somebody that I might have known from his past.
That I guess we could talk about that now. So this is where we could reveal little inconsequential things, right? This is the place where we could talk about it. So if you rolled well enough, he could have recognized you, but you had met him before. But you'd met a lot of people before.
I've worked with a lot of.
Yeah, he was nobody important, but except that he had met you.
So it wasn't that. Okay, so instead of being character centric, like a good player should be, I should be NPC centric. So it wasn't that I knew him; he knew me.
Exactly. Yeah, he knew you, and it's just like, but yeah, you wouldn't recognize him. He wasn't anybody important. He was a nobody. But again, just like some runner for the Felicianos, and other Italian families on the East Coast.
I was fully ready for this guy. Like, it's somewhere down the line. Whenever, I don't know if G's ever gonna get in there. Probably not. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. But something's gonna happen where it's like, he's gonna come up again, and it's like, oh yeah, this guy, he's gone missing. We don't know where he went. I'm just like,
yeah, it could be a hook.
Is his name?
Yeah, but
oh yeah, I shot him. He's dead.
Yeah, so that was the thing though. He could have identified you if he rolled well enough. He didn't, but he could have. Which I know. The only thing that probably would have accomplished, that would have been interesting. But I have a feeling the only thing that would have accomplished is he would have died sooner.
Much sooner.
Yeah. But yeah.
See, I felt that I ended up taking his place, because I figured, once we killed him and you said that he was infected and all that, and then the later events happened where I went nutso.
Oh yeah,
that's why I was like, if we would have let him out, that'd have been him going nuts.
Yeah, but that's true. That would have
still made more sense for me to go nuts, because it's like it gives you that peril of what do we do? This is our team. Everybody's trying not to hurt each other. Even when I'm bad, I'm trying not to hurt my team. Like, no.
In that moment, I realized Mr. G has no non-lethal measures.
But yeah, so that is true to a certain extent. Like, he would have, like, he was such a dunce too. Like, he probably didn't even know he was infected, but he was totally under like their control, you know. So if you let him out, yeah, he would have turned on you, pretty immediately. So you know, and he just wouldn't have been able to do anything about that again, even if he didn't know. But yeah, but either way, I knew I was going to have Chauncey roll that wisdom save to see if he gets controlled. Either way, that was going to happen. Might have happened at a different time, but yeah. So yeah, that was the thing, and I knew that was going to be interesting. I knew it was going to be doubly interesting since you weren't sharing with the party that he was infected.
If it's Chauncey, again, that was the point. Was like he always does something and keeps a secret, and then it backfires. That was the backfire. Like, everybody found out then, real quick.
Yeah, real quick. Which that ended up being a pretty cool sequence, I thought. I like the way that played out because, well, as I've seen now, in some more recent Critical Role episodes in Campaign 2, things can go south real quick when domination is involved, and when you know, people, you know, when you get that kind of PvP aspect when somebody gets controlled. Yeah, things could go south real quick, but I knew this was going to be like a low intensity scenario because there weren't outside factors pressuring you guys to, you know, like people weren't trying to kill you at the same time that Chauncey was. So I knew you guys could pretty easily resolve that without too much consequence, you know, unless someone was already really hurt. But but yeah, so that was the thing. But you guys did end up recruiting Dr. Campbell to your cause. She helped
temporarily.
She helped you guys out a bit. She helped you through the facility and made some crafts, and she ended up being quite a big help in that final battle. Actually, she did a lot of stuff. Which was the thing though that I had to roll for when you guys got to the Dawn, and when he transforms, I did roll a wisdom saving throw for her because you guys happened to roll well enough to convince her to go that far. Because her idea was she's like, hey, I know a thing that could hurt him. I can make that for you, and then you gotta let me go. But thankfully, you guys happened to roll well enough to convince her to go along with you guys even that far. But I did establish that she particularly fears Ernesto, and you know, because she knows what he is. She hasn't seen him in his full form, but she knows what he is. And so seeing his full form, that was something that I was like, realized had the potential to just scare her away. Like, screw it, I'm out. So that's why I rolled that wisdom saving throw for her in the first round of combat to see whether or not she would cut and run in the middle of that fight. So that was a possibility, but she rolled well enough.
Well, see, the thing was, would Katara have been able to operate the machine? Because I figured that she was the only one who knew how to.
No, it would have been pretty straightforward once you guys got the power source. Like, pretty much just the plug and play of just like beep bop and just press the button on the touchpad. And it'll be like beep boop beep boop. Yeah. Searching for plug located. Zap. So yeah, you guys still would have been able to operate the machine without her. But yeah, well, so speaking of that final battle, let's talk about that finale episode. What do you guys think of it?
I really had fun with that.
That was a cool one as well. Shout outs to Ilo, who keeps providing these awesome monster artworks. This is her second monster that she's done for this year. She's done a lot of characters, but there's a second monster. Artemis, I was super blown away by, and this one was just like, yeah, this one we just specifically wanted to go crazy for. Yeah, that was a fun one, and you know, with this one, I did go in with that aspect. I think I talked about this a bit on that episode, was that fact that I wanted this one to be like a collaboration, because normally it's just me coming to her. It's like, hey, here's a design, and here's my ideas. Can you make this? With this one, I went in like, I know the Dawn needs to transform. I don't know what he transforms into. Let's think of a creature together. So, and because I wanted to do something that she could play to her strengths on, and that she could add ideas to. So yeah, that was a collaboration. I was like, all right, I just went in. I was like, okay, he's a Plaga creature, so you might want to look at other Plaga creatures from Resident Evil. But my only thing is that he needs to be huge. He's gonna be gargantuan sized in the fight, and that's pretty much the only starting point I had. Was he's a gargantuan sized. Yeah, he's gonna be a gargantuan sized Plaga monster, and she came back with some sketches, which I guess I said I was gonna actually get into this on this stream. Yeah, let's get into it. I think I could show some behind the scenes stuff of the progression of that character, because she first came back with some concept sketches of like, okay, yeah, how's this working? And then we would dialogue, go back and forth, exchange some ideas, and then she would just like keep refining it until we figured out what the design was going to be. So, see if I could find it here. Yeah, here he is. So let me get this up on the stream. But yeah, this was the original concept art for him. There we go. And yeah, there it is. So that was the original sketch.
Give me a moment, I'm switching over still.
Yeah. So yeah, this was the pencil sketch. Which I dug this design quite a bit. I thought, okay, this is pretty cool. And you could still see which elements made it to the final cut.
Yeah.
He's got like that big claw crab arm. I thought it was pretty interesting what she did with the head, though. I like that aspect of like the tentacles coming out of it, and the sort of gory, kind of like what's that called?
Body
like
horror.
That body horror. Yeah, that body horror stuff going on with the mouth, where it's kind of gagged and has the tentacle coming out. But she ultimately went away from that design. But I was into this quite a bit. But I was like, at the same time, like I did kind of like the idea of him having a snout, So I was like, maybe you could throw that in there. And I know there's some stuff that could work out with him. Or rather, it was the fact that because I was using a stat block that was designed to emulate the final boss of Resident Evil 4. Sadler's final transformation.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, it has a bite attack. That's one of its main things. So I was like, okay, maybe you could give him some sort of maw, some sort of snout to give him a bite. And she was like, okay, yeah. And then she went with that. She stuck with the no eyes thing, but she got rid of the tentacles. But I kind of like that. That's a neat characterizing aspect of the monster, that it doesn't have any eyes on its head. I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. I love the whole like design.
Yeah, it was super cool. I love the way his hand looks in this sketch and everything. Yeah, so this got me pretty excited. So that was the original. And then she started.
And she gave it a tail.
And then she started digitizing after that. Yeah, she gave it a tail. We came up with some more ideas, and then this was the second pass right here. There we go. And basically it evolved into that. Which is pretty close to the final design. That was the original roughs for it. Except I think she like added a bit more, made it a bit more armored. Kind of gave it that look. Because I did kind of have
the segmented plates and whatnot.
And that was something that was a note I gave her, that she was just like, oh, way ahead of you. I actually kind of inadvertently already ended up doing that. Was that I was like, okay, he's gonna have quite a bit of AC from natural armor. Maybe you could do that kind of. Set it up so that he has like discernible armor plates and a discernible soft fleshy bits. And she nailed that. And apparently she was already kind of ended up doing that even before I'd sent that communication. But so, and then this was the final design that you guys fought in the final piece in the progression, where he's just like, blah. I love the way this ended up looking, though. And I also added in a suggestion of like, okay, some of these Plugger creatures have like eyeballs, you know, that are like sticking out of them.
Just randomly sticking
random
around.
eyeballs. Well, especially Sadler at the end in that final boss. Like he had
him on his joints.
Yeah, that was like the thing, right? He was mostly armor, but he had little eyeballs that were the soft bits that you could attack. So I was like, okay, maybe throw some eyeballs on him. He just threw a bunch of eyeballs all over the place. There used to be a lot more, but we toned it down a bit. There used to be a lot more eyeballs on this guy, a lot of tiny ones. But I was like, maybe less eyeballs, but bigger eyeballs, you know. But yeah, I really do love this final look. I think it turned out super amazing, and Ala just continually blows me away with some of this stuff. Look at those teeth.
I know. I got to see those teeth nice and close up when I was working with him in the thumbnail.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I got to see those teeth nice and up close when I was hanging from his back, and
Which
getting bit at and all that stuff.
Yeah, which that was an interesting fight. What do you guys think about the way the actual fight turned out?
So good.
That ended up having a very different dynamic than I was expecting, with you guys staying on board the helicopter and stuff and things like that.
Yeah. Like, there was a lot that I wanted, or rather not wanted. There was a lot that I thought was going to happen that ended up not exactly going as planned, I should say. Mm-hmm. Because, well, I mean, obviously, everything that did happen, it was probably a lot cooler than some of the plans that I had. But I was really concerned whether I should have crashed the helicopter into him. I really wanted to, because I was like, this is like free damage.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was like, I don't know if we're gonna be able to get back to the facility in time.
Yeah. And that was cool that we got to see Mr. G show off his piloting skills.
Yeah.
Because that was an aspect that you'd not necessarily written into his character, but you wrote it into his build at least, that he was proficient.
Yeah, because he has piloting proficiencies, and that's how we got to that's how me and Chauncey, or Mr. G and Chauncey met for the first time, was during that mission. Yeah, G was flying them back and forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, G was
my pilot.
Mm-hmm.
And
while I was operating the pilot, he stole from the box.
Yes, that's what I do. I steal from the box.
But yeah, that was super cool, and I was like, yeah. As soon as I conceived of the hangar, I realized, oh shoot, we got a pilot now, and I had to make sure there was an extra helicopter for you to grab, because that's a cool aspect of that character that I think is neat to play up, and you just got to do some like aerial combat.
Was it you, Lauren, that I was saying, or was it Raph that I was telling it to, that like I pictured for a moment there that we were going to chase the helicopter down?
Oh yeah,
and I was going to jump out of the helicopter into the other one. And that was the whole thing, that's why like I kind of played it as I was the last to show up to the helicopter, and then I was just going to hang off the side. Yeah. Then just do some superhero stuff and jump from one helicopter to another.
That could have been pretty epic.
Action hero.
Yeah,
but it crashed. I didn't want to be in a crashing helicopter.
We all crashed.
Yeah.
I did like that opening though, where I just go around and I'm like kicking things around. And didn't I shoot him? I shot him. I kicked him in the face. Yeah, I gave him a straight boot to the face, and that was intense for that moment for me. So I was like, oh, crack, hit him in the face. And then he just went gargantuan. It's like, oh, mistakes were made.
Just like kick him in the face, he gets big, and just turn around and walk away.
Yeah.
That wasn't me, it was him in the helicopter.
No, yeah, the dynamic for that fight ended up being super interesting. But yeah, that was a pretty dynamic fight. In fact, that's quite the word for it. There was just a lot of moving parts. This helicopter was moving around. He's trying to take it down. Which I guess Mr. G ended up essentially playing tank for that fight. Well, I guess Chauncey still was in his own way, but that helicopter ate up a lot of damage.
I know. I was operating some heavy machinery that was just like, I just need to beat up in his face.
No, yeah. Like you ended up tanking quite a bit of hits that didn't go to to your more fleshy compatriots. So that actually probably was a huge boon for that fight. I think that kept you guys in it for a long time, was the fact that you stayed low enough for him to want to attack the helicopter.
Well, let's see, because I think we only stayed at eye level, I think, with him, right? Because we never did get higher.
Essentially,
Oh,
yeah.
that's right. Because I was trying to remember why I wasn't going higher. It was because I was keeping the ladder close enough that Chauncey would be able to jump on if he needed to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that I think intentionally or not, that did end up playing in your favor. That the helicopter managed to tank so many hits, which that worked out. And then for the finisher, for the finale, you guys finally Cambria showed up with the cavalry and threw down a rocket launcher, which I was pointing out that was Mel didn't point it out, but that was a different rocket launcher than the one you guys usually use. This was...
It was red tipped, right?
I can't remember if I said this was red tipped or gold tipped. They have appeared in both.
Gold.
I think you said gold tipped.
Gold.
I remember gold tipped.
It was gold tipped. So this was a special rocket launcher. And yeah, this was the first legendary item, technically, that has been in the game. In this campaign, rather. So, and yeah, it was basically the same thing as the regular rocket launcher, except it also has the effect of power word kill, which is that anybody in its radius who's under 100 hit points dies instantly. So, yeah, that's basically to kind of finalize that as being just like,
this is the kill one.
Yeah, this is the one for killing bosses. When you get them low in hit points, you shoot this sucker at them and they're done. But just make sure your people are clear.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the party defeats Don Feliciano and effectively puts an end to the Feliciano crime family.
Yep. All of his offspring, all of his offspring are just like, want nothing to do with that.
Yeah, well, at least one of them wanted nothing to do with it. Another one was just couldn't have anything to do with it.
Because he was in jail? No, he wasn't in the United States.
And he was wanted in the United States, so he couldn't come back.
He was in Italy.
Yeah, he was presumably in Italy, just basically avoiding extradition. Was his scenario. So he couldn't claim his inheritance. And yeah, just a lot of things sort of aligned properly for that to happen. But he does have kids. But I guess after that big battle, you guys defeat the Dawn. Chauncey and Cambria get cured, while Mr. G and Katara deactivate the self-destruct mechanism, which is kind of a good thing, because that means that laboratory facility is still there, which I knew that was going to be the biggest thing that would have changed if you guys didn't deactivate it. Because Doc was worried about like the self-destruct basically destroying everything and getting rid of the manor and stuff. It wasn't going to do that. It would have only destroyed the laboratory. But
okay.
But
he doesn't need that.
More space. But
that's just a garage.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing that would have changed, because that's why I gave you guys 15 minutes on the self-destruct, was to make sure you had enough time to go out, fight the Dawn, and then come back and still use the machine to cure Chauncey and Cambria and get the parasite out of them. But that said, the biggest thing that would have changed is the fact that you guys, that would have essentially been a one-use thing, and that would have been destroyed with the facility. This esoteric technology that was able to
be there and gone.
Yeah, to get the plug out of people. But now that's in the BSAA's possession, and that changes things a bit. And we're gonna see just how going forward. But yeah, so that was pretty much the ending. The BSAA gets to storm the place and do their raid, get some closure on the characters, some final conversations before, which I was talking about this with Mel the other day, and I feel like I perhaps didn't properly emphasize this maybe during the session, but like this is like that was no small event. This was probably the most public event that the characters have been a part of in the entire campaign. Like you guys are surrounded by, news teams at the very end. Yeah, and they're like there was a lot of cameras, there was a lot of eyes on this.
I forget if I said this during the campaign, or like during the game, or if I only thought about this, but like, didn't I have Mr. G going around just like, I'm just a lady who was caught up in like while they were out in front?
No, I don't think you ever said that.
Oh man, because I really wanted it, because I think part of it was it was just like, literally the entire time after getting smashed by Chauncey's dad, he was just running around, he was just like this the entire time, just like, oh it hurts my ribs. But I wanted him to play it off like, oh man, thanks for getting me out, BSAA.
Yeah, I see. Well, maybe we'll call that canon. that's how he walked away afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this event was a big deal though, because it kind of established that, especially with some of those news clippings you're reading, that this estate was a well-known location as the Feliciano's base of operations, and it's a very publicly known thing, and it's a bit of a symbol of oppression in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that that's no more, and that the BSAA overtook it, and everyone saw as that helicopter came back and the party came out and saw, it's like, these were the guys that survived it, and just afterwards this symbol of oppression just finally goes away. That's kind of a big thing that people have noticed, and people have noticed you guys now. Yeah. So that's definitely something that is gonna affect things going forward. But
I had nothing to do with it. I was just
innocent bystander.
Innocent bystander. There was me. Rebecca Black was there.
Rebecca Black.
Oh wait, no. Who was
Sarah Black?
Sarah Black. I'm not Rebecca Black. She did Friday.
Yeah, it's not Friday.
Like it was like me, Sarah Black, and that probably the researcher too. We were all just we're all just like poor innocent bystanders who got rescued by the brave Chauncey and his crew.
Wrong place, wrong time.
Yep.
So
it's like Rebecca Sarah Black was there just like, I literally don't know why I'm here. Mr. G is right behind her going like, same.
So that also now brings up the question, and this is something that I guess probably would have been answered during the campaign had we had all the players. Why was Sarah Black there? Is that something we're allowed to know? Because Sarah didn't know.
Yeah, she was a bit vague on the details just from the way it happened to her. But no, yeah, I could talk about that, because it wasn't really anything major per se. It was essentially just that they knowing that Emil was coming to meet with them. They essentially wanted to have some extra leverage in the negotiations, and so knowing that Kevin was his lead architect, essentially, they essentially had kidnapped his sister, or at least knowing that he was an ally of Emil's. They found one of his relatives, kidnapped his sister, and we're like, okay, in case we need extra leverage, we can use this. We have something to hang over Kevin's head, and so we have something to hang over this guy's head in case we need to pull that out as a threat in negotiations.
Gotcha.
But didn't end up needing it because Emil quickly made enemies of them.
Yeah, but then afterwards.
Fair.
Quickly made allies with them.
With that, with knowing that was the thing, I guess I can just go ahead and say, if they tell Emil, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, we have something on Kevin, Emil's just like, good.
What do you got?
It's like, yeah, we have a sister. I didn't know we had a sister.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that's pretty much everything that happened during the arc, and now Chauncey is the on-site commander for this BSAA military base, which has just been christened Camp Clancy. And that's where we're going to be picking up with him in the next arc, and everybody else has kind of gone their separate ways. So this certainly changes things. This certainly makes things a lot more interesting. I've done a lot of talking with the players about this, but I guess I could kind of establish you guys are getting to that point where you're getting up there in levels, and I know these characters are going to become... This is basically the point in the progression, especially in a traditional, like, say, D&D game, where characters would start getting more influential and getting things like Wizard's Towers or keeps or things like that. And so this is sort of playing into that tradition of, now Chauncey has a mansion base or in this whole camp that he's in charge of.
I'm gonna call it the War Factory. I went from a war room to a war factory. I produce war.
Just industrial manufacturing of war.
I just and I was kind of saddened because whenever I first heard that I was getting camp, I was like, "Oh, Eric, you said commander of the camp and all that," and instantly I was like, "Ooh, I got the role of commander." I wonder if commander has 12 branches of 12 people. Now all of a sudden I just have a whole bunch of chain gangs just running down, platoons of people doing strolls around the base, like a live war base, and I'm just in charge of it. That would be dope. And then you're like, no, you're still just a captain. You are meaningless. You just happen to have a house now.
Well, you have to work up
that
to
word
that.
for word.
You don't get immediate you have to work up to that position. That's the end state.
I figured I earned that.
I mean, you've earned the right to have that.
General's level 20. I am the general at level 20.
Yeah, well, it's that. That's the thing too. Is obviously you're not meaningless. captain is still pretty high up. Chris Redfield never goes beyond captain. Over the game so far, but
I could end up being more powerful than Chris.
Well, I think the reason Chris stays a captain though is just because he wants to.
He likes the field work.
Yeah, he wants to stay on the field because he knows as soon as he gets promoted too high, they're gonna put him behind a desk, and he's like, that's not Chris. Well, maybe it will be one day. He's getting old. I could see him being more political, but yeah, so that's essentially the same thing here. I clarified afterwards, that you are still just the captain in rank, but you're the base commander. So you do have a bit more pull still, but you...
but your pay grade didn't go up.
Well, personnel-wise, you're still at the same amount. Although you do have... Well, you do have more personnel, but same amount of soldiers under your command. But yeah, so you are in charge of more people technically now. Because there are more people that they're going to be moving on to this base to help run it in all the facilities.
Yeah, I originally pictured a whole bunch of popped up barracks around where the vineyard was, and the BSAA would send troops there for training, but it wouldn't be under my command, but they would be there just to have that war ambience, I guess, that soldier training ambience.
Yeah.
So you go out and you're drinking your coffee in your robe on the balcony of the mansion, and you look out on all the people doing training stuff, and I remember those days.
Yeah, that's actually I like that flavor though. I like that flavor. That's certainly something you can pursue, because that's the one thing. I've sort of been establishing that we're going to see a lot in this next as the campaign progresses on. Is there's gonna. I mean, this is your hub now. You now own a hub area, and you can do with it what you will. And so there's going to be some options. It's pretty modular. You could, and yeah, there are definitely going to be quite a few options for what can be done about this place and what you want to add to it.
Sweet.
So, yeah, I mean, Camp Clancy is yours now.
I and that's the biggest gain, in my opinion, of this entire story arc. I learned who my daddy was. I killed him, but I gave him a mansion. That's cool.
That is pretty cool. So yeah, Chauncey's gonna be living there now, and your whole unit Foxtrot team is gonna be living there, and yeah, it's definitely going to be something that changes the dynamic going forward. And hopefully we get to see the whole party kind of using this hub area. It'll be pretty neat to see people explore it because I've been building it, doing the work of developing it as a hub, and I'm like, oh, this is exciting. There's definitely gonna be a lot to do around there. It's gonna be an explorable little area. So
what's nice is that like you pre-built it to pretty much have all those aspects in it. Like there's the armory, there's the living quarters, there's there's the labs. Like you could play those in all sorts of dimensions where it's usable as a very central hub. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, you know, like if Emil was part of the group, be like, I need this and this and this. It's like, go down there.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and it's like
in the right direction.
That wasn't even intentional either necessarily, but it does work out that way, that everything the villains needed to run their base is now, oh, that was a dog, is now, something that like it has all the things that you would need to run a base. So, but yeah, it became obvious to me over the course of this arc. Like in the middle of this arc was about when I decided like it is heading that direction. That this, as long as you guys, well, even if you prevented the, or if you failed to prevent the self-destruct, you still would have gotten like the mansion and stuff out of it. You just wouldn't have gotten the lab areas.
Yeah.
So yeah, it started to become clear to me over the course of this arc. I was like, no, yeah, that would be the perfect reward for the completion of your personal arc, as like a concrete like benefit, but also something that's like indicative of the progress of your character in a way. And yeah, it was just it was right there, and it was perfect.
I enjoy perfect.
So.
I don't know about everybody else. I don't know when everybody else gets spy quarters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I got me a mansion.
You don't even know if I've already got something. As far as you know, I've got my own entire...
It's in the shadows.
Yeah. And you'll never know.
You're a part of Assassin's Creed.
Right? Yeah.
I live at the Continental in John Wick.
There you go.
So, yeah, I suppose before we wind down, any last thoughts about this arc?
No, I think I had everything that I had a couple of questions going in. I think they all got answered.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, like one of the main questions for me was the whole where does Sarah come in at? And then trying to think if there was anything else that didn't get answered. No, I think I'm good.
Yeah, you got your closure. Well, this was certainly a fun arc. Like I said, a lot shorter, but dang, it felt like a lot happened. Like, is it just me, or did a lot happen in these 10 episodes?
It was packed.
Yeah.
With action too, like constant action.
Yeah, constant action was definitely design direction.
It's pretty fast paced.
Yeah, just knowing, well, for me, especially knowing that was going to be Chauncey's personal arc, I'm like, all right, what does Chauncey do? And so, yeah, I knew there was going to be a lot of combat. I knew it was going to have the most challenging combat of all the arcs so far, which you guys did pretty well with in terms of like tactics and stuff. But yeah, I knew those two aspects going in. And that was just sort of a consequence of it being the personal arc of the soldier character. But yeah, I knew also that in addition to just combat, they had to have stakes. They had to have something going on, and a lot of stakes that were established kind of mid arc that I wasn't entirely expecting, but it worked out perfectly that they were able to happen. So overall, I feel like if there was any one arc that like changed the future of this campaign more so than any other, it was this one, because there was a lot of just campaign changing events, like cataclysmic events that happened in this arc.
You can say that again.
Yeah. So, one thing we didn't necessarily get to talk about was that you guys finally got to talk to the big bad with Walker.
That's true. And he didn't have anything on Mr. G. He's like, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
Sitting there in the back, just like, I tried hacking you. It was very hard, so I gave up.
I forget now what I did to the camera. Or was it just the computer or something?
I think you smashed the camera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was Hulk smash for sure. Yeah, something like that. I was just like, "Are you done talking?" Yeah, smash. Like, and that was all right. We need to get moving.
I gotta say,
time for this.
that episode in general was great. I love that one. There was just a lot of great moments, like Katara walking away from the scientist and just flashing her eye beams, and just little stuff like that. But I feel like, first of all, I just want to say I really loved that interaction. That played out super well, and I loved having the chance to finally introduce Walker as a character and have him interact with you guys in a way that's not immediately imperative. Not like him showing up, it's like, now you gotta fight this guy. I like that I had that opportunity to just introduce him as a character in a way that doesn't have that immediate stake of him being in the room. So I thought that was super cool, and I was super pleased with the way that scene ended up going. It felt really dramatic. It felt like it introduced him well, and I like the way you guys interacted with him overall. Like, I thought there was some super cool dialogue in that scene.
There was a lot that with Mr. G, at least, there was a lot where he didn't necessarily know who this person was.
That's true.
Or rather, he as the name Mr. Walker, or as the name Walker, whatever, I forget his first name.
Elliot Walker.
Elliot Walker is probably known as one of the remaining Umbrella associates. But like Mr. G is sitting there in the back, just like, this is y'all's beef.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like he didn't really have anything over me anymore either, because like at that point I've already cut ties with my dad, and then like I still have my brother and sister, but like, I've already lost. Yeah, he did, but like he ain't gonna stop that. I'll get him. No, you worry. I'll go and protect that dude. But it's just like that was the only stakes he had, was like, you're threatening, like in Chauncey's mind, it's like, you're threatening Clancy. You're making a mistake.
Result's gonna be the same if you send people his way.
Yeah, you send people there, they're gonna die too. But like I lost RK, which was my daughter. I lost my dad, which was the only thing leverage wise he could have had on me at that point in time. So it's like, all I have is my sister and my brother. So go ahead, because this is going to give us reasons to work even closer together.
Yeah, that's true.
I've been trying to get to that dude for years. He's been busy.
Yeah. Still in the Marines. No, yeah, you got that Clancy confidence when going into that interaction.
It's nice. It was a good play, and plus, like, he had my car battery. They had my car battery there. Like, I knew it was game over. I'm getting my car back.
No, yeah, I did really enjoy that interaction, and yeah, I love that. I just love finally getting to put the big bad in front of you guys. He's kind of been in the background this whole time. He's had a hand in every arc so far, but finally getting to see you guys interact with him and give a face to that enemy was pretty neat. And I feel like there's still a lot more to reveal about him, which is super cool. But I feel like you guys picked up on some stuff. So yeah, that was pretty neat. Really excited about this next arc. Really excited to see where the story goes from here.
I can't wait to start assassinating some people again. I got a target.
yeah. I like that was just such a great call to action line from Chauncey too. Where it was just like, that's not a nerd, that's our target. Yeah, that was great.
That's no nerd.
There was just a lot of good action hero lines that come out of Chauncey.
I built him to be an action hero.
Yeah,
he's not serving his purpose to 100%, but he's getting traction. PGP is like action hero in the making. Like, so like it was cool to have that played down version of Chauncey, but like it's pretty cool to have both characters I create are like, in my opinion, the baddest of badasses.
Yeah. So
yeah, that'll all come with levels.
True. But yeah, big rulebook.
Nobody starts out a hero.
Happened with this break, and so we'll see how those changes play into these characters. Got some respecs going on, and I'm super excited about this next.
That's
arc.
true. Did you have we announced that was something that you've allowed us to do?
Yeah, we announced that at the end of the final episode.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's gonna be a thing. People are locking in some choices. And I think the soldier class is finally in the best place it's ever been, and I think it's pretty much finalized at this point as a class. I don't foresee myself making too many more changes to this class before a release. But yeah, I'm excited to see how Chauncey plays with this new build. It's gonna be epic. But in the meantime, I guess that's it for discussing Arc 4, the Felicianos of Resident Roleplay. Like I keep saying, this story is gonna be nonstop from here on out. This ride has no brakes. You guys have really just met the halfway point, it feels like, because of that fact that at the end of this, 2 characters are now in double-digit levels. Like, that's a bit of a big deal. So
technically even 3, because there's a side character that's double digits now too.
Oh yeah, right. So
wait, what happened?
There's 3 characters that are level 10.
Yeah,
and one of them's a side character.
Wait, was it was it PGP?
Yeah.
Oh, get up to.
I think he got up to 10.
Let me double check.
I was like, dude, I don't remember anybody else.
Scroll up.
I was like, I don't remember anybody else doing anything like any other.
No, Pete got up to 9. That's what it was.
It was 9.
He started 8 and he went up to 9. But yeah, so there's two PCs that are 10 though, and that's pretty awesome. And that means you guys are about to head into the next tier of power with level 11, and the story's just gonna continue escalating from here. But I'm really excited. Things have been set up nicely. Mm-hmm. But until then, that'll be it for this discussion. We'll see you guys next time. We've got some more streams upcoming over this break, some cool stuff I'm looking forward to. Lauren's one shot next week. And
I'm not ready.
Well, you better get ready.
They're not ready.
Until then, we'll see you guys later. Peace. Squared. Have a good night. God bless.
Good night, so dreams all the good things.